guess he struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Nobody enjoys being wrong about anything, but I tell you what, the things I enjoy being wrong about are when I'm wrong about some of my favorite sports teams. And some days I come in here feeling like I'm wrong about the Cincinnati Reds, and then other days they make me actually look like I know what I'm talking about. But as long as proving me wrong while winning is the path that the Cincinnati Reds continue going down, I am perfectly content with being wrong for the rest of the season. Welcome in, everybody. The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. A ton to dive into here today. The Cincinnati Reds are rolling. Nick Castellanos is not just proving why he is one of the top outfielders in Major League Baseball, defensively and offensively, but also trying to prove that he should be one of the starting outfielders for the National League, which we'll talk about coming up here in just a moment. Also around the corner, interesting article in Dayton Daily News about the adoption of a shot clock in high school basketball. Won't spend a ton of time on that, as we have both made our opinions well known on that. But some interesting quotes in this article in Dayton Daily News from Coach Rockhold, Travis Trice Sr., who's now with Wright State, kind of weighs in as well. I just wanted to kind of highlight some of their quotes and comments. Rocky Rockhold with Trotwood as well, weighs in on that. So I wanted to make sure we touched on that around the corner. Cleveland Browns named the most complete roster in the National Football League. And, well, I hate to say I told you. Actually, no, I don't. Kev, you've known me for years. Have I ever passed on the opportunity to say, I told you so? I told you so.
Humble ain't in your vocabulary.
No, look. I've been 5'5" in Shelby my entire life. I've never been athletic. I've never really been good at anything. So, yes, maybe it's that little man syndrome that everyone accuses me of having. But you know what? When I do find an opportunity to say I told you so, you're damn right I'm going to tell you I told you so. So, Kev, I need you to snap out of your funk, man. Like, I know this place could bring you down, but come on, the next 3 hours, man. They're just anything you want to talk about, we'll talk about. Just show them pearly whites right here on the camera, because we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube. There you go. That's a fake ass smile. There you go. There you go. But again, happy. I almost said Wednesday, but okay. Ron Howard right off the bat says you're a tool. Okay. That's
see the pearly white.
I mean, I don't think he meant you. I don't think he called you a tool. Usually loves me. Any name calling on this show is usually directed at me. So there you go. Justin Nichols said, think we have been here this all off season. Just saying. Huh? Retype that so I can make sure I understand what you're trying to say. Now he's saying, think we have been hearing this all off season. Hearing what all off season?
All about the Browns, probably.
Oh, yeah. But now I just have an article to confirm it. So
you have the backup. You have the ammunition. Gotcha.
Last night, if you missed it, the Reds came away with a very impressive win over the Phillies. And, of course, it was capped off and highlighted by a 7 RBI night from Nick Castellanos. And, of course, the highlighted grand slam, which turned things around. Check it out.
The 0-1 from Felice. Line drive, left center field. Herrera on the run. Ain't going to get it. Nobody's going to get it. That is a grand slam for Nick Castellanos. 6-4 Reds as Castellanos rounds the bases, fist in air, and indeed, he has brought the house down.
Nick Castellanos did bring the house down last night. He went 3 for 5, scored 2 runs, brought in 7 runs, and of course right now is hitting .347 on the season, has an on-base percentage just a hair under 400 at .398 as we currently sit here. And right now, this isn't just about his push to get into the All-Star game, Kev, as a starter, which, by the way, he's second amongst National League outfielders, Jesse Winker coming in at number 3. But this dude right now is really putting on a performance that if he does remain with the Reds and the Reds remain competitive and the Reds front office decides to make some moves at the deadline, we could be talking about Nick Castellanos as an MVP candidate he is right now, but I'm not putting stock into it just because we got to see this play continue after the All-Star game. But right now, he is not showing any signs of slowing down whatsoever, because this is him picking up where he left off even last season. The dude's just unbelievable. 7 RBI night to career high, hitting .347 on the season. And Kev, what's interesting, he's a career .279 hitter. and he's hitting 347 right now, and that just seems to continue to go up and up. On a season where offense has been so bad that they've had to all of a sudden crack down on the sticky tack and everything else, that the offensive numbers are in the basement. I mean, they are low across the board, and yet you have two guys having career seasons through the midst of one of the worst offensive seasons in the history of Major League Baseball. Jesse Winker, Nick Castellanos continuing to hit the snot out of the ball. And now that there's less snot on the ball, they're going to be getting more hittable pitches. And that's what we saw last night. 3 for 5, 7 RBIs. That made it 6-4, Kev. The Reds would go on to win 12-4. They piled it on the Phillies and improved to 39-38 on the season.
These are the type of wins you want. This was a makeup game for that one rain delay. So you get this game right before you got your 3-game series versus the Padres. You're hoping to carry that good momentum into the next series versus the Padres because, they went out to San Diego and things didn't go our way. So now they're back on our home turf. You're feeling good about a victory over the Phillies in convincing fashion. You're hoping the bats stay hot tonight.
Here's one thing I thought about, and this would be pretty demoralizing for Reds fans if this ended up happening. Last year, we saw the very first ever Cy Young Award winner for the Cincinnati Reds in Trevor Bauer. Wins the Cy Young, bounces. Imagine if Nick Castellanos does the same thing in back-to-back seasons, where I think that'd be pretty demoralizing for Reds fans. It would be very demoralizing for me if Nick Castellanos goes on, and let's say he doesn't even win an MVP, but let's say he finishes at this pace. I mean, right now he has 15 home runs, already has 50 RBIs, hitting 347. I mean, this would be his best season ever and a season that the Reds desperately needed. But it goes beyond the numbers. Yes, numbers matter. Of all the sports out there, numbers matter for every sport, but baseball especially. They live and die by the numbers. But Nick Castellanos, you can have the numbers, but if you're just a dull personality that doesn't rally the troops, that the fans don't get behind, that the organization doesn't get behind, then it is what it is. But there's a flair about his game. Mm-hmm. There's something about Nick Castellanos that even Jesse Winker, who he's proven me wrong. Again, another situation where if I'm going to be wrong, I will gladly be wrong about my teams when it comes to me picking them to lose and them winning. This is why I said my sports betting advice for everybody out there is I always bet against my team, because no matter what, I will go to bed happy at night. If I bet against my team, and the team I picked to win wins and my team loses, I at least go to bed with more money in my account than when I woke up. If I lose my money, that means I'm going to bed with my team picking up a big win. You go to bed happy no matter what. So always bet against your team, folks. I'm telling you, that is the key to happiness is betting against your team. But since Jesse Winker's proven me wrong, and I think he has a cool personality too that fans are gravitating towards. But there's just something right now about Nick Castellanos. He's providing a spark. Attendance right now is higher than it's ever been, but it's higher than it has been in recent seasons since they hit the reset button in 2013. And I think a lot of that has to do with Nick Castellanos being that surge of energy. Worst bullpen in baseball, very up and down team. Sometimes it's frustrating to try to get behind them, but the one guy that you cannot be frustrated getting behind is Nick Castellanos right now, who's just killing it.
And these are the type of games that you want to have going into the All-Star break. He's hot right now, and like you talked about, he has that flair. And we could talk about like guys in baseball who put up crazy numbers, like Mike Trout and everything like that, but he doesn't have that flair. Like nobody knows who he is, but everybody in Cincinnati knows exactly who Castellanos is. And the flair, like that sells. Like just say the Reds go off the deep end, hopefully not. As long as he's playing well, you give the fans something to watch, a person that they're willing to spend their hard-earned money on to go down to the ballpark. So the flair is definitely there, and obviously the wins are there right now. Granted, the team is basically like a 500 team, but all in all, that's what you want, man. That's what you want, especially in the summertime, man. You want a reason to continue to go to the ballpark. You want a reason to continue to tune in and go down there and sweat like a MF down there. Like it was hot yesterday. So shouts out to all the fans who stuck it out, and they were rewarded with a big time win. Yeah, it's been fun watching Great American Ballpark be a lot more attended, I guess, if that's how you want to word it. But a lot of asses and a lot of seats, and you could definitely feel the energy just watching at home or listening on the radio. So that's always something fun as well. I wasn't watching. Were you watching? I am watching. Oh, yes. Fancy pants. Yeah, I figured it out. Let's just leave it at that. I figured it out how to watch the Reds. Let's just leave it at that. Doug Toby says, "What do you mean you're not good at anything? You are the best troll I have ever known." Well, it's like they say, everyone's got to be good at one thing. I mean, everyone has to be the best at something, right? So there you go.
it got me to thinking, and shout out to Mark Schlemmer, who I know is tuning in right now. Just want, he's pointing out your Wright State clothes. He said, Kev wearing Kinner's clothes, the Wright State clothes. So there you go. But I took a break from Wright State and sporting the Buckeyes today. Oh. Ohio State, Duke, Mike Krzyzewski farewell tour. I'm still jacked about that. I'm still thinking about that today. So there you go. And then of course Shaw having to give Doug Toby the sign of approval. Doug Toby, damn straight. Okay, I'm the best troll ever. There you go. I finally made it. I've finally made my mark on something.
You're somebody.
I want to say this. I was talking about Schlemmer earlier today, and we got to talk about Nick Castellanos. I remember Schlemmer was adamantly against the Reds getting Nick Castellanos, and he even said, oh, man, I was wrong about that. He was even wrong about Winker. We were both wrong about Winker and, of course, Nick Castellanos. But the one thing that is interesting is now you have Nick Castellanos, who is 29 years old. Jesse Winker is 27 years old. Both are having breakout seasons, and both have the fans absolutely just jacked right now about Reds baseball because of these two. And the Reds have a decision to make. The first decision they have to make is what to do with Nick Castellanos. I don't think he's going to be a trade deadline move, mainly because you're not going to get a lot back. I mean, for how good he is, you're not going to get the exact value that he probably has just because of what's left on his contract. They don't have leverage there. Mm-hmm. He would be a nice addition for a lot of teams who are on the brink. But I think that the Reds right now know that if they keep him, he's their best shot of keeping them relevant in that division and having at least a fighter's shot of actually, getting to the postseason and winning that division. Still a possibility. Brewers playing really good ball right now, though. But if it comes down to it, when Joey Votto signed his 10-year max deal with the Cincinnati Reds back in 2012, he was 27 years old as well. And I've been wondering, when we get to this point, who will be the Reds' next big contract signing? Who will be that next Reds player that will sign that big deal, that big contract? And it may not be who, as in an individual. It could be potentially two. If I'm the Cincinnati Reds, I look at Nick Castellanos and I look at Jesse Winker, and I look at two guys who bring so much spark and personality and almost an identity to this team that if those two guys are in your lineup for at least the next 10 years, and with being productive in probably 7 of those 10, because as I've said before, no one signs guys to 10-year deals expecting 10 years of production. You sign a guy to 10 years knowing you're probably going to get about 7. That's what we got out of Joey Votto. Kind of, actually. Yeah, I mean, we got about 6 years after that, 27. When he was 27, signed that 10-year deal. We got a good 5-6 year production out of him at the elite level. He's still producing. I'll give him that. He's been a different player since coming off the IL. He even homered last night. But if you are the Cincinnati Reds, they need to do everything they can to keep this tandem locked in. I know everyone keeps talking about trading guys and all this. Not a fan of that. Not a fan of moving on. You work so hard to develop players. I mean, it looked like Jesse Winker was not going to be a bust necessarily, but wasn't going to turn into the player that everyone had anticipated. But now you look at Jesse Winker, and he's a part of this tandem with Nick Castellanos, and it's like, man, what do you do? Mm-hmm. You sign both. That's what you do. Yeah. You make sure you find a way to keep both. However, if you could only pick one, who do you pick, Reds fans? Because let's be honest, of course you keep both. But who are we dealing with here? Cincinnati ownership. Whether it's the Bengals or the Reds, we all run into the same issue. Well, it'd be nice. We keep both. You build around them for the next 10 years. But we know that that's not necessarily how this front office always operates. Of course, and by the way, the franchise that Forbes had listed as being worth over $1 billion somehow, some way is trying to convince its fan base that, COVID, we can't afford even a decent reliever. Scott Campbell, follow the rules. I said Nick Castellanos or Jesse Winker. Or both. Of course, you want to keep both. I want to keep both, and it's my fault for having both put in the display box.
Both.
Hashtag both. Everyone's going to say both. But let's play a game here and say you could only pick one. Who are you picking? There's pros and cons to both. Of course, if Nick Castellanos, you look at him right now, he's a bona fide superstar. I look at Jesse Winker, who is emerging as a star, but I cannot put Jesse Winker at Castellanos' level yet. And I will say this, the one pro to keeping Jesse Winker is that he's homegrown. You drafted him. You developed him. Mm-hmm. You watched him go through the ups and the downs, and now you're getting to see the finished product, which is pretty damn cool. Jesse Winker, Nick Castellanos, Reds fans, we're live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook. Head there now. Search the Justin Kinner Show on Facebook. Jump in the chat section, or on YouTube, ESPN Dayton on YouTube. Jump in the comment section there. We'll pull your interaction into the show. I'm curious, if you could only keep one, because we all want to keep both. And I was dumb for putting or both in the comments in the topic box. But I am curious people's thoughts. Who do you keep? I like Nick Castellanos, but there is something special about signing a guy that is yours. Like Jesse Winker is a Cincinnati Red. You drafted him, you developed him. You called him up to the main roster and debuted in 2017. He's had a lot of ups and downs. There was a lot of ebbs, roller coaster ride. He's finally had this breakout season where you look at him and say, oh man, he has it. He's it. Finally, this is what we've been waiting for. But then you look at Nick Castellanos, big offseason acquisition heading into the 2020 season where there was a lot of expectations because you had Sonny Gray, you had Trevor Bauer, Luis Castillo. That was your core three. And then you look at that lineup that had those guys. There was even excitement about Shogo Akiyama, which we know that's kind of gone off course a little bit. But the bottom line is that both of these guys have been huge faces of this organization on this recent run. You could only pick one, Nick Castellanos or Jesse Winker. Who are you picking, Kev?
Whoever's younger. I don't know who's
even
younger.
by 2 years. So Jesse Winker's 27, Nick Castellanos is 29.
The younger one.
Just off of that alone?
Just off of that alone. You talk about 10-year deals. If everything that happened with Albert Pujols towards the back end of his contract with Anaheim and everything like that started falling apart. Not the player that he was when he first showed up. They knew that was going to happen. So if you get me the younger guy, that means he'll probably a breakdown later, and maybe I'll get the full 10 years out of it.
I just look, even Votto signed that. So, and I agree with you. You have to look at it that way, but I still do not believe that anyone signs a 10-year deal or that any team signs a guy to 10 year. Like even the Angels knew signing Pujols to that 10-year deal, they were going to get maybe 5 years. And by the way, I don't even think they got that many. I think they got 1 or 2. His run in Los Angeles was very similar to Griffey's in Cincinnati. Cincinnati was a bigger deal because Cincinnati, homegrown kid, all that stuff. But like Griffey came to Cincinnati, Pujols went to Los Angeles. Both of those guys brought a lot of excitement and buzz when they arrived. I think actually Griffey's run with Cincinnati was better than Pujols' run in Los Angeles. I'm curious people's thoughts on that, but that really didn't work out for Los Angeles the way they had anticipated. But nonetheless, I still think the Reds dodged a bullet there. I talked about that USA Today report where the Reds were the secret suitors to try to land Pujols. And then, of course, when he turned them down for the LA deal, that's who they moved on to Joey Votto. I'm taking Nick Castellanos here just because we know who he is right now. But at the same time, man, I don't know. I just told you what I want. Now I'm changing my mind. I don't know. There is something special about having the homegrown player in Jesse Winker. Real quick, to the Facebook comments we go, because very interesting comments in here. Ann Anderson, shout out to Ann. I hope you are doing well. Ann Anderson says that she wants Jesse Winker because he's younger and he's ours, being, again, the Reds drafted him, made his debut with the Reds in 2017. We got to see him grow before our very eyes, and now he is third on the National League outfielders on the All-Star list. I mean, he would be a starter. Voting into today, him and Nick Castellanos would be the starters in for the National League in the All-Star game. I think that's huge. But imagine the Reds having the starting outfielders in the National League as the core of their lineup moving forward. I want both.
That's huge.
But if I could only pick one, I'm still going with Nick Castellanos just because I think he brings more of a leadership flair. I think that the fans follow suit with him. I think that the dugout and the clubhouse feeds off of him. And I'm a big fan of that. I really do. So David Shaw, he says Winker. Winker's getting a lot of the votes right now. He says he's younger and homegrown. A lot of the arguments that you made. Keith Tolliver said you trade Castellanos to the Yankees and keep Winker.
No, don't do that. That'll mess it up for my team.
But I'm curious, like, why is it we get a good player, you just want to trade him? But then again, you look at the Trevor Bauer situation.
Got to get something for him if they're going to walk.
But the leverage, you don't have leverage when they have a half a season left. I mean, even the Indians didn't get a lot for Trevor Bauer.
Right.
Either. I mean, you got to look at that as well.
But at that time, Bauer was on the whatever.
He wasn't the Cy Young. Yeah.
He had the good peak with the Cleveland baseball team, then dipped big time. And then when he got to Cincinnati, he wasn't good at first when he got to Cincinnati. And then last year, he popped up again. And now he's all right again. So, not having sticky tack will do that to you. I'm just saying. There goes that interview.
David M. on YouTube says, if push came to shove, or we just look at ownership's history of not stretching the bank to take the next step, I'd much rather they keep Castellanos over Winker. I want them to keep both. But again, if it just came down to one over the others,
can they afford both is the question.
Oh, the $1 billion franchise, yes, they can afford both. Will they? Like, that's the thing. I refuse to ever bow down to that answer. Can they afford both? Yes, they can. How could you can't Kev, right? Unless I'm missing something here. How can you be a $1 billion franchise and wave the flag of, oh, it's just a small market, then sell the damn team? Like, that's not okay.
They don't have the TV deal that the Yankees have, or
everyone has the same TV deal. They get the same
Yankees
TV
have
money.
the Yes Network, though. Just like
the Reds play on the No Network where everything's no. Can we sign him? No. Let's get him? No. Let's trade him? No.
In the same way that the Lakers have that deal with Spectrum out there in LA, like they have it's a bigger market, number one and number two media markets in the world that bring in a lot more money. So that's probably what they're hanging their hat on, like saying like they can't afford or not willing to pay that type of money. But what would be the numbers? What would be the numbers for a 10-year deal?
Everything changed. Like Joey Votto's deal seemed so monstrous back in 2012 when he got that 12-year, $225 million deal, or 215. It was a $220 million deal. That was like monstrous. Now that's a deal. If you could sign a guy like you, if you could sign, I don't know what. Look, I think the one thing that the Reds need to look at and capitalize on now, getting a deal done, is the fact that Castellanos has had one MVP caliber season. It's not like you're signing like Joey Votto had strung together quite a few great years, and then wins that MVP, and then so that was all combined. That's it made it. He was able to use that as leverage to have his asking price go up. Nick Castellanos has one great year. Jesse Winker, this is his breakout year. And by the way, you're not at the point where you have to pay Winker yet. By the way, he's making like $3 million. He's not. I mean, it's a steal. Right. This is why the Reds are unfortunate. Because if you have Eugenio Suarez right now, who's making $10-11 million a year, which is also a steal with the production that they were seeing from him early, but to have Winker playing the way he is, if Suarez was playing the way he's supposed to, having this breakout year from Castellanos, and Moustakas would have stayed healthy, Votto has been great since coming off the IL. This team, man, they could be so much better than they are. There's so much going against them, and yet they're a game over 500 and still in the playoff push. But $1 billion franchise. I don't buy into that.
I'll ask you about the numbers because you look at Fernando Tatis Jr. out there with the Padres. He got the 14 years.
I don't think they're going to make
for
that.
$300 million.
He's 24?
22.
22?
22. So the same age.
God, he might get 2 deals.
He will get 2 deals.
He can stay healthy. But
he will get 2 deals.
So Reds fans who are listening on Facebook and YouTube, what do you guys think the going rate would be?
Because I bring up Tatis Jr. because he's only had basically a year and a half of good baseball, and they bought in hook, line, and sinker, obviously with that $330 million contract for 14 years. Has the Reds seen enough to put that type of money on the table is my question.
I mean, and by the way, I tell you, let's pick up at it. I want the answers to keep piling in. Head to Facebook. Search the Justin Kinner Show. Everyone has Facebook. Search the Justin Kinner Show. Follow, subscribe, and tune in live. We'll take your comments and answers in the comment section and drag them into the show and answer you there and read your responses. But Nick Castellanos or Jesse Winker, if you could only keep both, or if you could only keep both, if you could only keep one of the two, who are you keeping? Nick Castellanos or Jesse Winker? You can only keep one. Who are you keeping at this point? Right now, Nick Castellanos is number 2 in to be the number 2 outfielder in total votes right now for the All-Star game. Jesse Winker coming in at number 3. If voting ended today, the Reds would have 2 of the starting 3 outfielders for the National League in the 2021 All-Star game. How cool is that? So head to Facebook, head to YouTube. Who would you pick? And also, what would the asking price for these 2 be? Could the Reds get it done? We'll talk about that when we come back. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine, next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, a high near 93. Tonight will also be mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, a low around 73. And tomorrow will be cloudy with showers and thunderstorms, a high near 84. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Allstate is known for quality insurance, but you might not know them for low rates. That's about to change. With Allstate, you can save up to 25% when you bundle your home and auto. You know what else you might not know? The chicken came before the egg. With Allstate, you can lower your rates, not your expectations. Visit Allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today.
In most states, prices vary based on how you buy. Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company, Allstate Vehicle and Property Insurance Company, and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
You know, a few days ago while hanging out with my family, I noticed my father staring blankly at me. Something's not right, I thought. Is he having a stroke? Then I remembered to act fast, F-A-S-T, and did this quick test. F, face. I asked my father to smile. One side of his face drooped. A, arm. I asked him to lift both arms. No problem there. S, speech. I asked him to repeat a phrase. His speaking was slurred. T, time. I called 911 for immediate help. This way, he began receiving life-saving treatment in the ambulance. My father was out of the hospital in a few days, all because he made it to the hospital within an hour of his stroke. Practice recognizing the signs of a stroke so that you can act F-A-S-T, fast, to save a loved one.
This message is brought to you by the Ohio Department of Health's Coverdell Stroke Program.
Milano's Pizza Subs and Taps is celebrating the sunshine with a bunch of fresh new menu choices, from pizzas to salads to subs. See all the creative flavors in store for you right now at milanosubs.com.
I'm Joel Clark, a Select Quote agent, with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and he can't take it with him. Well, I went to work and found Ray, who's 40 and takes medication to control his high blood pressure, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for only $19 a month. That's way more coverage for a lot less than what he was paying. If SelectQuote didn't shop for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote and to find out how much you can save, call 1-800-885-9500. That's 1-800-885-9500. 1-800-885-9500. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policies at selectquote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-362-2000, 362-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Give me a call for an all-cash offer at 614-362-2000, 614-362-2000.
I'm CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger with a quick tip from H2O Wireless on stretching your budget and saving money every month. Start with your recurring monthly bills, and here's the easiest one, your cell phone bill. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile charge premium rates for unlimited data, when in all actuality, you have no need for that much data. H2O Wireless, on the other hand, is on the exact same network as one of those carriers, but charges you half. The average family of four is saving over $70 a month without having to sacrifice coverage. And listen to this, unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data for just $36 per month. Switching is as easy as swapping out your SIM card. You can keep your phone and your phone number. Here's how to get the best deal. This month, dial pound 250 and say keyword get H2O. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Dial pound 250 and say get H2O for this exclusive offer and start saving today.
Everything you want to hear is on Audible. Stream the bestsellers and the newest hot releases, and stream originals and podcasts too. Sign up for a free trial at audible.com.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on The Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Reds and Padres tonight. Here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 Wing AM, and that'll be a 7:10 first pitch, 6:40 the pregame. I'll give you the lineup early, just real quick. We'll run down it. Jonathan India will lead off and get the start at second base. Jesse Winker will bat second and start in left field. Nick Castellanos in right field. He'll bat third. The catcher, Tyler Stevenson, will bat in the cleanup spot at number 4. Batting fifth and at first base is Joey Votto. Sixth and at third base, back in his natural habitat, will be Eugenio Suarez. We have an Aquino sighting. Batting seventh and getting the start in center field will be Aristides Aquino. At shortstop will be Kyle Farmer. He'll bat eighth and batting ninth. Your pitcher tonight for your Red Legs, Tony Santillan. So there you go. One more time. India, Winker, Castellanos, your 1, 2, and 3 hitters. 4, 5, and 6, Stevenson, Votto, and Suarez. And your 7, 8, and 9 hitters, Aquino, Farmer, and Santillan. I kind of like the balance of the power hitting throughout this lineup right now. I mean, Jonathan India has been a huge breakout star as far as a potential. I mean, the Reds have been looking for a leadoff hitter for what seems to be ever. They had brought in Shogo Akiyama. I believe that was the intended target of bringing him in, was to be that leadoff hitter. They thought Billy Hamilton years ago was going to be that guy. They were really trying to force Jesse Winker to be that guy, which I was not a fan of. Votto was hitting there at times. It was a revolving door, but Jonathan India has actually kind of provided the Reds a little steady leadoff spot hitter, and we'll see if that continues. But I think that he's been, for him being a rookie and taking on that role and being a solid leadoff guy and then setting the table for guys like Winker and Castellanos after him. But I like the power that is spread out throughout this lineup. India, great leadoff hitter, but Winker's batting second. Castellanos batting third. Tyler Stevenson has some pop in that bat, hitting fourth. Votto went yard last night. He's batting fifth. And then Suarez, who, I mean, he's a damn pitcher with his average. But, I memean, he has 13 home runs or whatever it is. He's on pace to hit 30 to 35 home runs on the season. We all know what Aquino can do when he gets hot. I like the balance of the lineup for tonight. So India, Winker, Castellanos, Stevenson, Votto, Suarez, Aquino, Farmer, and the pitcher Tony Santillan tonight, who probably is hitting better and has a better average than our guy Eugenio Suarez.
Did you see the outfielder pitch last night for the Phillies?
Really?
Yes, he came in and pitched and everything like that, like struck somebody out and everything like that. And as he's walking off the field, ump comes up to him. Let me see what you got. Gave him his hat, gave him his glove and everything like that. Like he literally came from the outfield in to pitch. Like he didn't leave the field, but since he pitched the ball, they said they had to check him. So I saw that on ESPN this morning. It was pretty.
So even outfielders are getting that, huh? Or even position players. Yeah. I mean, by the way, that has to be a rule to stop. It's disrespectful to the league. When you bring in a third baseman to pitch or something, I don't care that you're trying to. It's a strategy. They don't want to burn it on. I don't care. The strategy is, don't get down 12-6 or 12-4, whatever it was. How about that strategy?
Yeah.
I think that's weak. I think it's wrong. I think we need to stop that. We sit there and we lose our minds over, Tim Tebow in the NFL. He's, it's disrespectful. It's all the tight ends who have worked hard to get to the NFL, and they're bringing him basically off the streets to take a spot from somebody. Well, you have a lot of pitchers that work hard, that put a lot of time into their craft, and now you're bringing in a guy from left field, literally and figuratively, to come pitch. I just think that's wrong. Brian McCoy, he says just because Forbes says the Reds have $1 billion valuation means nothing. Revenue determines salary cap. My house evaluation is skyrocketing, but my bank account still looking shaky.
Amen to that, brother. I know that's right.
Brian, I'm mad at you for trying to bring sense to this show, so stop it. Quit it. That's actually a very good point. But I don't like being wrong, so shut up, Brian. How about that? How about that? Dennis Train says, go Reds. Shout out to Dennis right now. Look, I like this. If you were to tell me that the Reds are going to be above 500, maybe. Again, a lot can happen in the next couple of days, but let's just assume, and it's the kiss of death, by the way, the Kinner curse. It's real. By the way, yesterday, you know what happened yesterday?
It's in my notes.
I said the Reds would win one of their next 4. Well, I'm really hoping I'm wrong because they got that, and I said they would lose last night. They won. So for you Reds fans who are excited, I don't want to be the guy that ruins your whole entire evening. So the Reds will lose tonight. Wink, wink. Hopefully
it's like you said.
It is real. Like, we laugh about it, but it's starting to be kind of creepy how it happens. I'm not joking. Like, no matter what would happen during the NFL season, if I pick a team to win, they would lose. If I pick a team to lose, they'd win. Funny. But it has carried over to the Reds. I think I have only one time all season, Kev, and I'm not joking. We're 60 plus games into this, almost 70, over 70. Every time I pick a team to win, they lose, and every time I pick a team to lose, they win. I predicted the sweep. It was a split. Unreal.
Ask the Suns. We both picked the Suns last night.
But if I do have that power, with great power comes great responsibility.
Shouts out to Spider-Man.
There you go. So anyways, the big conversation we were having before, and a lot of good feedback on this. I appreciate everyone kind of weighing in on this. I think it's a fun conversation to have. I think that we're at the point now where the Reds need to decide, like, they do not need to hit the reset button. They do not need to start trading off assets left and right. Sometimes you do got to trade a good piece to get something good in, but I do not believe that it's smart to blow up what you have on the main roster to just fill up your farm system. When you're more worried about the health, about how deep your farm system is versus how good your main roster is, I think that's a problem. I really do. And I know that this is how some of these smaller teams operate. You're only as good as your farm system, because whether those guys come up and turn into stars like Jesse Winker has with the Reds, or you package them up to go get stars like the Reds did a few years ago, being able to get Trevor Bauer and guys like that. I completely get it. But at the end of the day, you do that when you were officially rebuilding. The Reds right now, you could see how close they are. Mm-hmm. You could see how close they are. They are above 500. We're the worst bullpen in baseball. They have a manager who I'm not a big fan of the managerial style, but again, I think I will admit I've probably been a little too hard on him, because I think Doug Toby, I'll give Doug a shout out on this. As I was being super negative about David Bell the other day, he brought up a lot of good points that how many managers out there can have a team above 500 with the worst bullpen in baseball. I say this all the time. It's sometimes when you have weaknesses, how you manage those weaknesses is really going to determine how you come out on the other side. And right now you have a manager in David Bell, who I'm not a humongous fan of from a managerial standpoint, who has this team above 500 with the worst bullpen in baseball. So something has to be said about that. Kinner's always so critical. Got to make sure I'm kind of being a little fair there. But if you could only pick one, Nick Castellanos or Jesse Winker, who are you rolling with? Who do you feel more comfortable taking a chance on between the two? And again, there is a chance that the Reds can keep both, but we know realistically they probably won't. The other side to this is we're sitting here assuming that, okay, let's say the Reds keep both. Now what do you do about pitching? Because I do believe that the key to getting the deal done for both Jesse Winker and Nick Castellanos, if you lock them in long term, I do believe that it is the deficiencies of Luis Castillo and his inability to be able to take off. I do believe that the lack of development of Luis Castillo could lead to the money going into the pockets of Nick Castellanos and Jesse Winker. Because as of a few years ago, how we envisioned this was Luis Castillo being the long-time ace of this rotation that the Reds would build around. So when you're a small market team and you average 1 to 2 big contracts per decade, if you're the Reds, you almost got to balance it, right? Max contract to Luis Castillo on the rotation, max contract, whether it be Jesse Winker or Nick Castellanos. But now you got to ask yourself, does it make sense to lock in a core of your lineup? Because just because you sign guys to 10-year deals, these guys aren't good enough to put a no-trade clause in there, Kev. So Jesse Winker can't put a no-trade clause in there. Nick Castellanos, they can request it, but I don't even think that either of these two are good enough or have been good enough long enough to warrant that. There is always flexibility to get out from underneath of these contracts, and I think that's key. Votto had that. That's one reason why they've had to kind of be patient and kind of eat that contract a bit.
All right, let me ask you this. You would know better than me. At the age that they are, you got 27 and 29, you're not going to get a 10-year deal at those ages, are you?
Votto got it at 27.
Oh, okay.
That's why I was bringing that up earlier about Votto. The significance of Joey Votto getting that 10-year deal. He was either 26 or 27, but I believe it was 27 because he's 37 now. So yeah, he would have been about 27 years old. So Winker's about that same age, 27.
27. He'll be 28. In August.
Yep, and then of course Nick Castellanos is 29. But the thing is too,
I don't think either one of them get a 10-year deal.
My thing is you sign any. Oh, I agree with you. And by the way, I've never understood what I would do. I would pay him a lot for a shorter window of time, good chunk of it guaranteed. Don't be married to these guys long term, because let's say things go south and you're married to this guy for a big chunk of change. You could either move on from him in the next, I don't even know what the minimum years of a contract you can have. Let's say you married one of these guys for a 3 to 5 year deal. That's fine. Mm-hmm. Things go south, you could trade them. It's guaranteed money. They're going to get their money no matter what.
Right.
But it also gives them the flexibility to get out if things aren't going well, which most likely it will. But it's giving both parties flexibility. The Reds have to be smart, and I'm hoping they do the right thing. I will be devastated because I've allowed the Reds to, infiltrate my heart a little bit right now. I'm buying in.
It was a fair contract.
So that's what I'm seeing a lot of on here. So I saw 150. There's a lot of comments coming in. I haven't been able to keep up with some of these, but someone said about 150. Is that a little disrespect? I think 200 mil.
For how many years?
But see, that's over 10 mil. You're right. So we're looking at 100 mil over 5 years.
I think that's fair. I think maybe even 150 for 5
150
years.
Over 5.
I think that's fair. I mean, I just...
Because, by the way, if you look at the breakdown of the contract, some of these guys are getting paid 30, 35, 40 mil over a year period.
Right.
Castellanos, I can't look at him and say, as good as he's been, I can't look at him and say, okay, do you deserve 35 mil a year like Machado?
Right.
Is he Machado? No. But that's the thing, though. We can't just equate it to comparing numbers to numbers. The value of Nick Castellanos to Cincinnati, it's about what are you worth to us? Who cares about what the Machado is worth to San Diego or what Bauer is worth over here? It's a different position. But he's valuable to Cincinnati from a marketing standpoint, from a draw standpoint, from just an impact standpoint, from a fan popularity standpoint. It's bigger than that. I mean, we look at these things that the Reds do, like the Caravan and the Caravan and Reds Fest and everything. Like those guys are draws. Like he would be Castellanos. Reds fans would come from all over if that meant having a chance just to get face-to-face time with him. I think that's a big deal.
I think this is going to work in the Reds' favor. I know we were playing the game if you could only have one, but I think their age is going to help the Reds be able to sign both. I think that one guy ends up getting like a 7-8 year deal and the other ends up getting a 5-year deal. Something that not only the team can manage, but you can keep both players happy and give them the money that they've earned. So I think this is actually going to turn out in the Reds' favor for both of them, not obviously being older, but I mean, not trying to call either one of them. I mean, they're not even 30 years old yet, but like if they were like Tatis Jr.'s age, like 22 years old and raking like this, then it'll be like, all right, man, we can only keep one of them because we're going to have to break the bank. But they're really not going to have to break the bank for this. They're going to, have to dip into the funds. They're going to have to go ahead and reach deep and come up with the money to pay them. But I think that they can pay both guys a reasonable contract to keep both guys with the team. And also, like you said, it's important for the fan base to have guys to watch. It's important for young fans to grow up with players because that's something we don't see in the NBA. We see LeBron with the Cavaliers and he, a 7-year-old. And by the time LeBron heads to Miami, he's 14 years old. And now he's mad at LeBron because he left him high and dry. And then LeBron comes back now he's like 20 years old. And then LeBron leaves again. And now he's 23 years old. Like it just keeps going ticking. But if you sign one of these guys up for the long haul or at least 5 to 8 years, they'll be with you. You'll grow up with these guys. You'll buy the jersey. You'll go to the games. You'll do all those things like you talked about with Reds Caravan and everything like that. There'll be draws. So I think this is going to work in the Reds' favor that they'll be able to get both guys for a contract extension for at least like 5 to 8 years.
Yeah, and so Scott Campbell says, forget the caravan. Forget the caravan.
What?
I'm going to forget the caravan. He goes, let's talk about Reds Fest. I think they go hand in hand. I don't know why we're going to forget about what I see. I can't see what you're saying, Scott. I'm sorry. But Scott says, how insane would that be if Nick is locked up to a 5-year deal? Like I said, there's pros and cons to both sides of this. I think that there's a lot. This has actually worked out well for Cincinnati. You went in low. Castellanos, you got him low, and he's performing at a Machado and the big contract level. In fact, he's performing better than some of those guys right now. I mean, he's going to be in the finals to win an MVP when it's all said and done if he keeps at this pace. And then Jesse Winker, there's the pride of, we drafted him, we developed him, he's ours. And if you have to pick one or the other, I could see, I mean, there's a laundry list for both as to why it would make sense for either one. But overall, I think what the city deserves, what Reds fans deserve, they deserve both. And I'm tired of hearing these franchises who own professional baseball teams, professional sports teams say, well, we can't afford players. Then get out and sell it to someone who will, because I just don't understand it. If you're treating this like an investment and it's not a passion of yours, that's doing the fans dirty. That's doing the fans dirty, because you know what's also an investment emotionally is the Reds to the fans. And I think that the emotion invested into the team is what gives you the opportunity to financially invest and come out big on the other side. That's the problem I have when it comes to owners just sitting there looking at, well, what do we got to do to break even, or what do we got to do to kind of, make a profit? And once these owners find a way to, these owners have to sit here and say, well, if we just win, and by the way, the Reds are the perfect example. They're going to win 85 to 90 games. They're going to be a 500 team. Maybe still miss the playoffs. They'll get to tip their cap and say, well, we fielded a 500 team. We won 85 to 90 games, which isn't bad. We tried, but did you? And it's not just about trying on a year-to-year basis. You got to have a plan long-term. I don't know what the Reds' long-term plan is. I felt like they were onto something when they brought in Bauer, when they got Sonny Gray, with Luis Castillo taking gradual steps year in and year out, and then of course they go all in and get Moustakas and Castellanos, and they bring Shogo in. I'm like, man, they're really. Wade Miley was still a very big addition, by the way. I don't think he gets enough credit as being one of the big names they brought in. I just. Come on, Reds. Do it. They're 39-38, a game above 500. And most importantly, right now with the All-Star game coming up around the corner, Nick Castellanos is second in voting. Jesse Winker is third. And they both currently hold All-Star starting spots in the National League outfield. And let's keep putting those daily votes in. Again, right now, if you head to Twitter, if you have Twitter, again, Cincinnati Reds Twitter account, I just retweeted it. It has all the instructions there on how you can vote for both. Continue to get those votes in. How cool would that be to see two Reds starters, position players at that, representing the Reds coming up here for the All-Star game. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. We'll step away for a few moments. We'll continue with your reaction on the other side. We'll get into this great article I found in Dayton Daily News. I found it very interesting, talking about the impact of a shot clock on high school basketball. I know we've talked about the shot clock in the past, but what I loved about this article was the fact that it had quotes and it had conversations with, of course, Rocky Rockhold, the head coach of Trotwood boys basketball, Travis Trice Sr., who was with Wayne boys and girls basketball, now with Wright State. He weighs in on it, as well as what the impact of it would be for local high school basketball. So a very interesting article there that we'll get into at the top of the hour. And then some snippets from the Bobby Carpenter interview of him weighing in on the name, image, likeness, all that fun stuff. So lots still to get into. Bengals, Browns, Buckeyes, more Reds, plenty more coming your way. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
It's Macy's July 4th sale with our lowest prices of the season on summer updates for your home, like 20 to 50% off outdoor furniture and the Radley 5-piece sectional Shea sofa, $1,999. And get a free adjustable base or box spring with qualifying mattress purchase. Plus, Macy's Star Rewards members earn on every purchase except gift cards, services, and fees. Sign up today at Macys.com/Star Rewards. Savings off sale and clearance prices. Exclusions apply.
Goodyear knows the importance of keeping momentum as you head down the stretch. Momentum starts with movement. It's pulled from the air like a contested rebound. Momentum builds with steals and fast breaks. and is proven by deep threes as the shot clock expires. Momentum is how we change the game. And now it's time to discover where it can take us. Goodyear, more driven.
O'Reilly. This is Sarah's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
Driving cross country with 2 young children is ambitious, to say the least. Then our check engine light came on. We pulled into O'Reilly Auto Parts and they tested it. Turned out it was a faulty sensor. They referred us to a great mechanic just down the street and we were back on the road in no time.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
OHMB 803342 and MLS 304138. Do you need help with a loan to purchase or refinance your home? Have you applied for a home loan and been told you do not qualify for a loan? Are you a first-time buyer and have questions regarding the home buying process? Are you considering refinancing your existing home? Do you live in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, or South Carolina? If you answered yes to any of the above questions, you need to call Forrest Ferris at 3rd Street Financial Home Loans at 513-320-5911, who is available 7 days a week to help you. We're 3rd Street Financial Home Loans, and Forrest Ferris specializes in approving home loans banks and other lenders cannot or will not approve. Some of our clients might have low credit scores, been through a divorce, want to buy a home for sale by owner, are in a land contract, or dealing with probate or estate homes. Call Forrest now for a free estimate, 513-320-5911. That's 513-320-5911. Offer valid for purchase or refinancing of homes located in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, and South Carolina only. Minimum loan amount $60,000. Limitations and restrictions apply.
Hi, Pete Kasuja here to tell you that if you're looking for the very best selection of your favorite garden plants, we grow over 125 varieties of tomatoes, peppers, cabbage, broccoli, cucumbers, cantaloupe, and eggplants. And if you haven't tried our famous Neighbor Beater tomato and pepper plants, come out and pick up a few and enjoy the best taste you ever had from your garden. They taste so good you'll wish you planted more. And remember, Neighbor Beater garden plants are sold only at our garden center at 1309 Brant Pike. So get out that shovel and start digging. It's time for gardens, bedding plants, rose bushes, vines, ground cover, shade trees and shrubs, bird baths and fountains, and so much more. So join the Green Revolution and come out to see us at 1309 Brant Pike, where we're open 7 days.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
It's time for some straight talk. You've got real work to do, but everyone's sucking up the free Wi-Fi faster than a Mocha Choco double frap on ice. So be your own hotspot. Now with Straight Talk Wireless, get 10 gigs of hotspot data with the ultimate unlimited plan. Just $55 a month on America's largest and most dependable networks. You don't have to find a hotspot. You are the hotspot. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
Compatible device required. See straighttalk.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? So you've got an oil change coming up? We'll help you find everything you need. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Valvoline Max Life high mileage motor oil and an STP oil filter for just $28.99. And if you're an AutoZone Rewards member, you'll also get a $5 bonus reward. Get what you need fast and get the job done easier.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Start your job today at AutoZone.com. Restrictions apply.
Don't wait to get a new job. Express Employment Professionals is hiring for more than 35,000 jobs. Find your local Express office at expresspros.com or on the Express Jobs app.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kinner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Just to give you an idea of how quickly things are moving along this summer, it was interesting. So we just got this email from Tim Street with the OHSAA. The 2021 OHSAA football calendar, Kev, on Sunday, August 1st will be the first day of official coaching permitted. Practice to start. So on August 6th to the 14th, those are your scrimmage dates. But the regular season for high school football begins on Monday, August 16th. Now that's when the technically like the first week of practice, but the very first Friday, August 20th. I mean, so where are we at right now? We're on the 29th. I mean, this is insane. Like, I don't know about you, but summer always to me was such a long stretch of time. And I'm like sitting here as we are heading, it's July this week. So that's basically 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, we're a month away.
Yeah.
Practices for high school football start in a month.
Crazy.
I'm 6 weeks away from the from week 1 of the OHSAA high school football season.
Time waits for nobody. As you just were talking about, as a kid, it seemed like summer lasted forever. We would get out of school the second week in June and not go back until the Wednesday after Labor Day. And it seemed so long. We would do anything. We would take a family vacation. We would, play outside all day, all night long. My mom worked third shift. She was a nurse and everything like that. And we would play outside all day long. And now, older and older you get, it's ready. Work. And the weather's changed again. Like, it's 92 degrees a day. We're all complaining, man, it's too hot, man. The AC's bumping.
But this is some BS, though. Like, this, when I hate when people do the humidity. That's I want people to talk about, in Texas, it's a dry heat.
The dry heat, baby.
But this is the stuff they talk about. I get a little too comfortable there. I start, I do a pretty good job. I don't swear too often. I mean, I swear, but I don't use the unapproved words.
Yeah, I know. I'm around.
Well, at least I haven't been caught yet. So there you go.
Summertime, man, it flies by so fast, and football season's going to be here before we know it, man. So, like, when I talk about, like, get out and enjoy the good weather while we got it, because come about 6 months from now, we're all going to be stuck back in the house.
Hey, it's
gonna be cold.
College basketball, college football, I'm fine with that. I don't dread. I hate the cold, but I get through the winter because of football season, because of basketball season. So it's
you're a
fine.
Fall dude, though, right?
I love fall. I think fall's my favorite because it starts cooling down. The holidays around the corner. I'm a big Christmas guy. Big jolly guy like me. Why wouldn't I love the happiest time of year, right? So
not this year, man. You're gonna be skinny Kinner for Christmas.
I mean, does jolly necessarily mean fat?
Well, that's what I think of.
So when someone says, "Oh, he's a jolly fella," you picture a fat guy.
Yes.
Interesting.
With a beard.
Don't got that either. Don't got that. I got this. The one thing I did learn during the pandemic was to grow a goatee. I figured that out. It's a little patchy from time to time. Like, sometimes it struggles right here, but it is what it is.
It happens.
Coming up, top of the hour, Kev Nash brings us over under. We'll also have some clips from our conversation with ESPN's Bobby Carpenter. Plus, we'll do the sympathy meter. Paul George is on the sympathy meter today. We'll talk about that coming up around the corner. Also, Scottie Pippen's on the sympathy meter. I don't know how many people out there feel sorry for Scottie Pippen. I mean, the fact that he's been as silent he has for this long, I don't know what's changed, but hey, when you write a book, all of a sudden everything comes out. It's called promotion. So this book, he's doing a good job promoting that book. It's made me want to go buy it now that I found out that wasn't such as much of a happy marriage as what you think. But hour 2 coming up, lots of good stuff. Don't go anywhere. Hour 2 of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Coming up next, the show is presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Go Browns.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
The City of Moraines' Star Spangled Boom is on Sunday, July 4th. The fun begins at 6 p.m. with amusement rides, games, and food trucks. There will be live music by the area's favorite band, The Menus. They hit the stage at 7:30 p.m. And the new low-profile fireworks show will start at 10. The best spot to view them is Wax Park, 3800 Main Street in Moraine.
Life hacks. What would life be without them? Like using candle wax to loosen a stuck zipper. Here's another life hack. Now you can get the same high-quality insurance from Allstate, but at a new low rate. With Allstate, you can lower your rates, not your expectations. Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today.
In most states, prices vary based on how you buy. Not available in every state. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Each year, Ohioans are injured and killed in train car accidents that could have been avoided with properly functioning gates and flashing lights. Facts show that gates and lights together prevent more train car accidents than stop signs or crossbucks alone. How can you help? Approach all crossings with caution and report bad railroad crossings at angelsontrack.org. That's angelsontrack.org. Because bad crossings kill good drivers. Sponsored by Angels on Track, aired by OAB and this station.
Tired of deciding what to cook tonight? Frickers is ready when you are with everyone's favorite ribs and frickin' chicken chunks. Tender baby back ribs and frickin' chicken chunks, only $12.99 dine-in only. Take the day off as kids 10 and under eat free every day. And you can relax and let Frickers take care of everything. Baby back ribs, frickin' chicken chunks, and kids eat free at the one place that makes lunch, dinner, or late night easy. The home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
Baby back, baby back.
Now at Menards, save big money in your next project with 11% off everything. Keep your engine running smoothly with Menards' great selection of motor oil. Quaker State full synthetic motor oil helps improve your vehicle's fuel economy. All motor oil is 11% off. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through July 4th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Audible delivers everything you love listening to all in one app. Stream the newest releases, bestsellers, Audible originals, popular podcasts, and more. Start listening free with a 30-day trial at audible.com.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The Reds are on the radio.
Every hit, every strikeout, every Reds victory. You can catch all of the action all season long right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER and ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle. WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, welcome back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. How about the Cincinnati Reds last night? Huge win over the Phillies, and they just piled it on. 12-4 your final last night. Of course, it was highlighted by a grand slam from Nick Castellanos. Here's the radio call. The Cowboy absolutely nailed it.
The 0-1 from Felice. Line drive, left center field. Herrera on the run. Ain't going to get it. Nobody's going to get it. That is a grand slam for Nick Castellanos. 6-4 Reds as Castellanos rounds the bases, fist in air, and indeed, he has brought the house down.
Absolutely.
How about that?
How about that exactly? Great American Ballpark has been absolutely electric over these last couple of weeks, especially after the Reds returned home. I know that Padres sweep, which coincidentally enough, the Reds start off a series with the Padres tonight at Great American Ballpark. But that Padres series on the West Coast really killed the Reds' momentum. I mean, they had taken 4 straight at St. Louis. They were just coming off of a huge series at first place Milwaukee, where they were able to sweep Milwaukee. But that really set them back a bit. But again, they're 39-38, still above 500. The problem is last night, the Brewers are going to keep winning, and they've been the silent assassin all season, all off season. Coming into the year, we talked about the Cubs, we talked about the Cardinals, we talked about the Reds, we talked about how bad the Pirates were. But the one team that we just refused to give attention to, the one team we refused to look at, it's a team that's right now sitting comfortably atop the NL Central that has a 6-game cushion between them and the team that swept them at home, the Cincinnati Reds. So the Reds got that big win last night. But all it did is it kept the games back the same distance as what it was when the game started yesterday. But that's why winning is so important, is because it either keeps you it's better to stay the same than move back any. And that's what the Reds risked last night had they lost that matchup against the Phillies. Luckily, that was not the case. And what was nice is it wasn't even one of Wade Miley's better outings. I mean, he didn't have his best stuff last night. I had tweeted out and called it on the show. Joe Girardi last week was known for going at, I think it was Max Scherzer with the Nationals. Scherzer was rolling, striking out everyone left and right against the Phillies. And Joe Girardi, that was the first week of the substance checks that you could request from the umpires. Joe Girardi was awesome with that. I was a huge supporter of it for him taking advantage of the rules. And the rules are that, hey, if a manager requests it, if they think something's fishy, they can request it. He did it about 3 times. Scherzer lost his cool. Washington, that entire team, they had lost their minds. They were pretty fired up about it. Scherzer got tossed. Girardi wasn't happy. But Girardi got in the head of Scherzer, and it worked. And with the way Wade Miley pitches, he pitches at such a quick pace. Releases the ball, gets the ball back, already lined up, ready to go. Off he goes. He just couldn't get in a rhythm last night. I predicted Girardi would do it at least 2 or 3 times. Didn't have to. Mainly because, really, Wade Miley never really got going. But Reds-Padres, game 1 tonight, Great American Ballpark, 7:10 the first pitch. Tony Santillan will be on the mound for the Reds. We had the lineup earlier. We'll highlight the lineup again coming up here in just a little bit. But Kev, it's time to bring us a little over-under. Kev Nash brings us over-under presented by nobody.
Aw.
Kev Nash brings you over under.
All right, we'll stay in the world of Major League Baseball. Kev, kick us off.
Yes, sir. The Cincinnati Reds put a beat down on the Phillies last night, winning 12-4. The Reds welcome the San Diego Padres to town tonight for a 3-game series. So over or under 1.5 wins for the Reds in this series versus Padres.
So we are the 39-38. So that puts him at what? That's 78 games. We're almost 80 games into the season. We're almost at the halfway point. And only once this year, folks, only once have I predicted the Reds to win, and they actually win. Only once all year have I predicted them to lose, and they actually lose. So I'm not going to do this again. I need the Reds to stay hot. I need them to take off. I don't even care if I'm wrong from the night before when I said they would only win 1 of their next 4. I'm going to say that they will win under. They're not going to win a game in this series because I have to fight the curse. With great power comes great responsibilities, we talked about earlier. And I just got to make sure that I'm handling this the right way. The Reds will get swept at home by the Padres, and I'm hoping that reverse psychology works. I'm going to say the under, Kev.
I'm going to go with the under as well because, like you just said, the Reds are 39-38. So they'll win 1 and they'll lose 2 and be a 500 team like they've been all season. They'll be a 500 team once this series is over with the Padres. They'll get 1 of these 3 games at home versus the Padres.
All right, to the world of the National Basketball Association we go, and I love the headline of this. Kinner was wrong. and so were you.
Absolutely. Kenner was wrong. I was wrong. I was big wrong because I said that the Suns were going to win by 20-plus points. But Paul George had other plans, dropping 41 points, grabbing 13 rebounds, dishing out 6 assists, helping the Clippers stay alive in the Western Conference Finals, winning 116-102 over the Suns. Currently, the Suns still lead the series 3-2. So over or under, the series going 2 more games. So basically, is it going to go to a game 7?
No, I think that the Suns, look, this reminds me of when Kevin Durant, remember when Kevin Durant had that humongous game for the Nets and everyone's like, oh man, maybe he, when they were playing the Bucks and maybe he can lead them by himself. This Clippers team is way better than that Nets team with only Kevin Durant, but it kind of reminds me of that feel. Look what Paul George had to do to get them to win.
15 of 20 from the floor.
So
80%. It's crazy.
And to be honest, the game was closer than what the score indicated. Just it kind of unraveled for the Suns in the final moments of that game, not taking anything away from the Clippers. But it was 96-92 with about 6 minutes to go. In fact, Paul George got lucky because Paul George had a fantastic game, and he was able to ride the ship a little bit because there was a point where it was 96-90. He turned it over. It led to an and one at the other end of the floor. After the free throw, he fouled on the box side or whatever it was, and then it sent the Suns right back to the free throw line. It was almost a 5-point swing, and both free throws were missed. So the Suns missed out on some opportunities down the stretch, and Booker was making some huge shots down the stretch as well. He had another 30-point game. He's been fantastic as well. But it reminded me of Kevin Durant, and it reminds me of Trae Young, where so many things, even when the Hawks got the win over the Bucks in game 1, he had to drop nearly 50 points. He had to have 11 plus assists. He had to play damn near out of his mind just to win by 2. So, and then of course they got blitzed when he didn't have as good as a game. They got blitzed in game 2 by the Bucks. So that's where I'm at with this. I think that the next game will belong to the Suns. So I'm going to say under on this just because I see Paul George having another big game, but look how big of a game he had to have just to hold off the Suns. Now that was at Phoenix. They will be able to play back in LA. But I think the pressure's on LA there more than Phoenix.
Really?
I think that the pressure turns to Phoenix if they go to game 7, but the pressure's on LA to extend the series playing on their home floor. Being eliminated on your home floor, I feel like they have the pressure in that situation, right?
I think the pressure's all on the Suns because Chris Paul, he's been a part of a lot of 3-1 leads that have gone the other way. And also something that, this is a feather in your cap talking about how important coaches are in the NBA. What Ty Lue did, he went Boeheim.
Zone.
He went Boeheim last night. I'm watching the game, and I'm like, this looks familiar. Is that the zone? Are they Boehiming it out here? I was like, man, the zone don't work in the NBA. Yes, it did last night. Unbelievable. A professional basketball team and a Hall of Famer, a point guard, as I call him, Chris Paul, got puzzled by a 2-3 zone. A 2-3 zone. Really? That is... Come on, Monty Williams. Come on, Chris Paul. Y'all got to do better than that, man. Y'all can't let a 2-3 zone stop you doing what you want to do. Like, Chris Paul couldn't get in the lane. That basically made DeAndre Ayton neutralized. He couldn't do anything because they basically run a high pick and roll system every single time down the floor, so he couldn't get involved. So it was really the Devin Booker show because he's really like the only guy that can get his own shot like that. So that tweak that Ty Lue did, another feather in his cap. But I'm gonna go with the over. I say this goes to game 7, and if it goes to game 7, it's going to be a lot of lemon booty out there, man. Dudes are going to be missing wide open shots that they normally make. Like, I think the pressure's all on the Suns because Chris Paul has been a part of so many teams out there that have 3-1 leads and gone in the other way. And I mean, it would be fitting for him to go to LA and win and then go on to the NBA Finals because he had a long career with the Clippers and everything like that. But I'm going to go with the over. I say we're going to get a game 7.
Yeah, there's some things in sports that we praise guys for that I always find weird, like the most come from behind wins. Well, why are you always behind? The most come from, the most 3-1 series deficits has the highest win percentage in elimination games, says Ty Lue. I'm like, well, why are you always facing elimination? Come on, like, figure this stuff out.
They're always down 0-2 to start.
Then, it's better to have that than to be the Doc Rivers of the world where so I guess it's better to be Ty Lue than to be Doc Rivers. And coincidentally enough, he took, Rivers' job. So, but no, I think that series is interesting. By the way, Facebook, YouTube, everyone right now hanging out with us. who's facing more pressure, the Suns or the Clippers? All right, the Suns had a chance to eliminate the Clippers last night on their home floor. Big performance from Paul George. He was able to fight off elimination last night, but now they got to go back to LA. I think the pressure's on LA just because you're playing on your home floor. You're trying to fight off elimination, but I do believe it gets to a game 7. Now the pressure's on Phoenix. So I'm just curious people's thoughts on that. Who's facing more pressure in the final 2 games? Maybe just one more game as we close out this series. On to number 3, Kevin. We stay in the world of the NBA.
Oh, man, it's going down in the Eastern Conference Finals tonight. But Trae Young, he is questionable with an ankle sprain. The Bucks currently lead the series 2-1 over the Hawks. So, over or under, this series going 2.5 more games.
No, this series is done. It's the Bucks, and they're going to win the remainder of these games. And that's taking nothing away from Trae Young or anything like that. I mean, look, the Bucks, they played okay in game 1. It just took an out-of-body performance from Trae Young to will his team to a win, and that's what happened. We talked about it earlier. It took a near-perfect performance, 48 points, double-digit assist. I mean, an all-around game for Trae Young just to beat Milwaukee by 2. Giannis had 30 and 13 that night. That's exactly what you pretty much expect from him. And then you saw when Trae Young is not playing well, he is that. I mean, he is the Hawks. At least Giannis has some weapons around him. They have some stability around him. And that's through no fault of Trae Young or the Hawks. They're an up-and-coming team. Right. They're not even supposed to be here. So I'm not bashing that team. But at the same time, that is their flaw. They go as Trae Young goes, and when he's not having his typical night, they don't play well. It took 48 and double-digit assists to win by 2 in game 1. When he was not himself in game 2, they got blitzed, and it was over at halftime. So I just think Milwaukee's the better team. They just seem more poised and under control. Getting Giannis to the finals, that's such a big deal because he has been criticized so much this year, and it's going to be cool to see him get there. To have Chris Paul and the Suns potentially get there, or Paul George, who's tried to fight off a lot of criticism as well. There's 3 players who are just fighting the vindication, that are playing the vindication card right now, and it's going to be a great storyline no matter who comes out on top for all these guys. So, but regardless, Giannis, MVP, 2-time MVP in Milwaukee, they're going to get to the finals for the first time for Giannis's career.
I'm going to go with the under as well. I think this is over in 5 games. One of the big adjustments that I've seen from the Bucks was, well, not even the Bucks, from Giannis. He ain't shooting no threes. Like, he's downhill every time. He's like, you know what? They can't handle me in the paint. Like, at least, with the Nets series, they had Blake Griffin down there fighting them a lot and everything like that. But John Collins can't handle them down there in the paint. And they're running a lot of pick and roll with him and Chris Middleton. And that's something that they normally wait to do until the 4th quarter. They brought that out early in the 3rd quarter because, in the last game, the Hawks had to lead at the half. So the Bucks had to come out and really play some good basketball. And Chris Middleton really came up big for the Bucks in the 4th quarter, dropping 20 of his 38 points. And you know how I've been talking about, like, I think that Chris Middleton is the better player overall, but like Giannis has the wild thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, they're a great 1-2 punch because the things that Chris Middleton does with that pull-up jumper and the 3-ball, those are things that Giannis does. But Giannis finishes at the rim. So Giannis as the finisher, unbelievable. So I say they're going to keep running that high pick and roll with them to start that early, trying to get out to an early lead. And especially if Trae Young is hobbled tonight, they're going to get blitzed. So I'm going to go with the under.
Kev Nash brings you over under. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Over under action, 3 in, 2 to go. Let's head to number 4. We're out of the NBA into the National Football League. We go, Kev.
Oh, man. Green Bay Packers are set to kick off their training camp in 28 days. So over under 25 days before that bad man, Aaron Rodgers, is traded.
I still think it's going to be way over. I think that this little dispute between the two is far from over. This really comes down to how much money is Aaron Rodgers willing to eat, because good for the Packers for being stubborn here. As we've talked about, regardless of what anyone's opinion is on player control, what percentage of the control should players be, what share should they have? The Green Bay Packers are not just fighting for themselves. There's a lot of pressure on the Packers organization, not just internally and from their fans, but from every other NFL team out there. They know it happened in the NBA. The second LeBron became the most powerful man in the National Basketball Association, teams have been just totally dissected left and right as far as teams who have who are used to the old way of the teams being in control. The NFL still has that. The teams are still in control. Not one single player out there is bigger than the organization they play for. The NFL is one of the remaining teams or the remaining leagues that's still the case. The NBA that was lost almost a decade ago, as crazy as that sounds. I mean, as we sit here in 2021, there's a lot of pressure on the Packers to sit tight here. If you're out Aaron Rodgers for a year, he's 37 years old. He's up there in age. At the end of the day, you're closer to the end of your time with him than you are to him being in his prime. This isn't like if this was Patrick Mahomes, because of Patrick Mahomes' age, get it done. You got to figure it out because there's a lot of great football left. Aaron Rodgers has 1 to 2 great years left. If that, it's one of those things where are you going to sell your soul? And I will not call him the devil. I think that's a bad thing. You know what I mean? But are you willing to sell your soul to Aaron Rodgers for 2 years? And then the rest of the league comes not crumbling down, but the structure will come crumbling down as far as we know it. I just think that there's too much pressure on ownership of the Packers. They're not going to budge here. It's going to be way over if he gets traded at all. But it really comes down to how much money is Aaron Rodgers willing to eat? Because how many days of training camp is he going to skip? Is he just going to sit out the entire season? That's going to be the big question mark as we head into training camp here, which is crazy enough, as we just talked about, is not too far off in the distance.
Yeah, something that I saw today on NFL.com, players can opt out of the 2021 season.
And what's that date?
July 2nd.
Good for you for bringing knowledge to the show.
So if Aaron Rodgers is really about that action and really not about playing for Green Bay, he can simply opt out and face no penalty. But the thing about it is, once you opt out, you can't opt back in. You can't decide oh man, in October, man, I want to play ball. Let me come back. You can't. You have to sit out the entire season. So if Aaron Rodgers is really about that action, really about that life, not playing for Green Bay, he can simply opt out, which I don't think he's going to do. And I'm going way over. I'm standing firm. I'm staying on it. I'm saying he's not getting traded to the Denver Broncos until, I don't know, when's the first game of the season? September 12th or something like that. He's going to get traded that Sunday before the season starts. He is not getting, they will not send him to any team unless it is in the worst position possible. If they could trade him the day before the season started, they would. They are not sending him to a new team where he can get training camp and get acclimated, new playbook, meet the players, find a house and all that. No, they are not doing that. They will trade him.
We're uncomfortable. You're uncomfortable.
Absolutely. They're going to make this so uncomfortable for Aaron Rodgers as they can. So they're going to wait to the absolute deadline, the minuscule. And something else I was reading, if he decides to hold out and everything like that and decides not to opt out, the fines that he'll get for missing training camp and everything like that, back in the day, teams could forgive fines. You can't forgive fines anymore. So, yeah, the Green Bay Packers have a lot of leverage in their favor, and a lot of that leverage begins and ends with Green.
Yeah, one thing, let me ask you. So when I said that about the ownerships around the league paying attention, what about the play? Who's facing more pressure? Because Aaron Rodgers, the players are looking at him and saying, man, if you stand your ground and you win this staring contest and don't blink first, now we get the power. Now it's we're going in the direction of the NFL and the NBA. And by the way, it's going to get there eventually. The players will gain control at some point, whether it's now or through the next collective bargaining agreement. There's going to be something there that happens. But bottom line is, I just think there's pressure on both sides. But pressure always, when it comes to money, they're going to crack. And the Packers have their money. They have your TV deal money.
Right.
And Packers fans, they already have all their damn season tickets. It's one of the smaller stadiums in the NFL. They won't change. I did a tour of Lambeau years ago, and they have stadiums, it's bleacher seats all around. I'm like, holy crap! It's the whole thing is.
Cold
and they said the reason that they do not change it is because by going to bucket seating and getting regular seats in there, you would lose thousands of seats by going to. So that's why they keep the bleacher seating. Is for that very reason, because they're already one of the smaller stadiums in the NFL. So if they get rid of the bleacher seating all around the stadium, they would lose a couple thousand seats, and they're not willing. And you may say, oh, a couple thousand times the prices of what you have to pay to go there. My goodness. So yeah, trust me, their money's locked in. The Packers aren't out anything other than winning, which that's what they want. But overall, you got your TV money.
Yeah.
You're getting your ticket money.
Yeah.
Packers fans are diehard faithful. I mean, you're hearing reports that the fans have basically kind of turned on Aaron, that they've been pro-Packers more than pro-Aaron as far as that goes. All right, we've stretched this out a bit. My apologies on that, Kev. Number 5, Kev Nash brings you over under. We wrap it up with college football.
I'll be quick, man. Currently, the Ohio State Buckeyes have the number 1 recruiting class in the 2022 class with 4 5-star players, 8 4-star players. So over or under, the Buckeyes holding that number 1 spot until signing day in December.
Well, it's interesting. I'm starting to look at right now the recruiting rankings as is for the 2022 recruiting rankings. Ohio State coming in at number 1. Your Florida State Seminoles are right in there, Kev. They're coming in at number 3. And by the way, that's great for college football. And I'm not a Florida State fan or an ACC fan.
I am.
But I'm a fan of I'm tired of it just being the Big Ten and I'm tired of it being Ohio State and the SEC. I'm tired of it. And in Clemson, it's Clemson and Ohio State representing those weak ass conferences, and then there's the SEC. And y'all can be mad at me all you want, me disrespecting the Big Ten. Good football programs in there. There's only one elite one. There's only one elite team in the ACC right now, and then there's contenders in the SEC. Florida State being right here, that's good news for what's ahead for the ACC, because right now, I mean, they need someone else to come to the party. It can't be Clemson carrying the load. But Ohio State's number 1, Notre Dame 2, Florida State 3, LSU 4, and Georgia 5. What's interesting is, so Notre Dame has the most commits at 16. 11 of those commits are they have 11 4-stars. Ohio State has 14 commits, 8 4-stars, 4 5-stars, and then they dabbled in the little 3-stars. Oh, a little weird. Oh man, those God, how bad do they have? No, I'm just joking. Now, how good? Sometimes those are your hidden gems.
Yes, James Laurinaitis.
Yeah, so
Malcolm Jenkins,
Zeke Elliott was a 3-star. So bring on the 3-stars, baby. So there's that. Your Seminoles have 7 of them. Just saying. But your thoughts on that? I'm going to say the over. They're not losing that. They'll have the number 1 class heading in, unless Alabama comes in and they're right now about to get another big one. That TJ or the T. Yeah. I can't pronounce his name, but I mean Ryan Day. I can't say enough about the job he's
cleaning
done.
up. I think the Buckeyes will stay firm at number 1 until signing day. One thing on Florida State, I know this isn't Florida. I know we live in Ohio, but I will say this. As rough as a patch the Florida State Seminoles are having, and as great as the recruiting has been going right now, nothing is locked in. These are verbal commits. So everybody is happy in Florida State land, as well as I am, that they get some top-notch recruits and everything like that to change over the program. But you also have to win. You know what I mean? We're not worried about Ohio State losing commits because they're not we're expecting to win, and not only win games but win big games. But for Florida State, if you have a 3-7 season, dudes will decommit and go to other places. Like, nothing's set in stone yet until December. Nobody's official until they put their name to paper in December. So for all my Florida State people in Ohio that's listening, all 3 of you guys, hey, let's hope for a good season for the Seminoles and obviously OHIO.
There you go. Kev Nash brings you over under. All right, we'll step away for a few moments. When we come back, speaking of recruiting rankings, everyone loves rankings. Everyone loves lists. We've talked a lot about lists this week. So I've said for a long time now that when the Browns just totally kicked ass in free agency and in the draft, I'm like, holy crap, they had one of the best, probably the best overall offensive roster in the NFL, in my opinion. Now what they did with the defense. So the NFL.com released a list of the top 5 most complete rosters in the NFL. The Cleveland Browns come in at number 1. The Cleveland Browns have a better roster than the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who, by the way, just won a Super Bowl and returned all 22 starters, something that's never been done. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Do you agree with the Browns being the most complete team, the most complete roster in the National Football League? Haters rejoice. We'll be back in a moment. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather. This afternoon will be mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, a high near 93. Tonight will also be mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, a low around 73. And tomorrow will be cloudy with showers and thunderstorms, a high near 84. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Wendy's only makes one kind of breakfast, your new favorite one. How do we do it? With fresh cracked eggs, oven-baked bacon, and flaky croissants. You know, the things your old breakfast wasn't doing. So toss that old news and its soggy eggs somewhere useful. And get to Wendy's, where the sausage, egg, and Swiss croissant, bacon, egg, and Swiss croissant, and honey butter chicken biscuit are just 2 for $4. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's 2 for $4.
Limited time only. Single item at regular price. Price and participation may vary at U.S. Wendy's.
Hi, Tom Bodette for Motel 6, leaving the light on for the three-dimensional soccer fan. Those cardboard cutouts were feeling a little flat. They didn't even yell goal for as long as possible when we finally scored. Well, while the cardboard you is packed away, the real you can head to the next road game. Motel 6 will help you get back into the action with clean, comfortable rooms at a great low rate. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Head outside and take a deep breath of fresh air. Feel the sun and the breeze. Everything just feels better. Spending time outside, like at an Ohio State park, is a natural way to boost your well-being and mental health. The parks are there for everyone to enjoy. Just 15 minutes spent in nature can restore you, leaving you feeling refreshed and energized. And now, connecting to the outdoors is even easier with Ohio's new Detour Trails app. Visit detourtrails.ohiodnr.gov to find a nearby trail that's perfect for you. Need more help coping with life's challenges? Call the Ohio Care Line at 1-800-720-9616 for free emotional support. That's 1-800-720-9616. So go on, get outside and thrive. Sponsored by the Ohio Departments of Natural Resources and Mental Health and Addiction Services. Aired by the OAB in this station.
Many Vietnam War veterans were unknowingly exposed to dangerous chemicals impacting their health and quality of life. There are now expanded benefits for veterans exposed to Agent Orange. Veterans with Parkinsonism, bladder cancer, or hypothyroidism who previously applied for VA disability compensation but were denied should reapply and might be eligible for retroactive compensation. Exposed veterans who have not yet applied should consider filing a new claim. For assistance, call Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission at 937-225-4801.
I'm Joel Clark, a Select Quote agent, with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and he can't take it with him. Well, I went to work and found Ray, who's 40 and takes medication to control his high blood pressure, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for only $19 a month. That's way more coverage for a lot less than what he was paying. If SelectQuote didn't shop for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote and to find out how much you can save, call 1-800-885-9500. That's 1-800-885-9500. 1-800-885-9500. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
I'm CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger with a quick tip from H2O Wireless on stretching your budget and saving money every month. Start with your recurring monthly bills, and here's the easiest one, your cell phone bill. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile charge premium rates for unlimited data, when in all actuality, you have no need for that much data. H2O Wireless, on the other hand, is on the exact same network as one of those carriers, but charges you half. The average family of four is saving over $70 a month without having to sacrifice coverage. And listen to this, unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data for just $36 per month. Switching is as easy as swapping out your SIM card. You can keep your phone and your phone number. Here's how to get the best deal. This month, dial pound 250 and say keyword get H2O. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Dial pound 250 and say get H2O for this exclusive offer and start saving today.
Don't wait to get a new job. Express Employment Professionals is hiring for more than 35,000 jobs. Find your local Express office at expresspros.com or on the Express Jobs app.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live or go back and rewatch previous episodes of The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, The Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
All right, we are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. We just wrapped up Kev Nash's over-under. And again, that's for college football, NFL, a couple NBAs, and of course your Cincinnati Reds, who will be in action coming up later on tonight against the Padres. The last time these two teams went head-to-head in the series, it didn't go well. The Reds lost all three games at San Diego, and they're hoping to return the favor here in game one of a three-game series, all stemming from Great American Ballpark. All right, so with where we are currently at right now, I came across this list today. Of course, it's been a talking point for a lot of shows throughout the day. And, I don't think it's that, like, if this conversation is being held anywhere else in the country, outside of Bengals country, if that's what we want to call this area, I don't think it would be getting as much heat as what it is. I think a lot of people would be shocked about this, but the most complete NFL teams, Mark Ross, an NFL.com analyst, released this earlier this afternoon. The most complete NFL teams heading into the 2021 season. The Browns and the Buccaneers are the two deepest rosters and have the two most complete rosters in the NFL, but the Cleveland Browns come in at number one. They've had a respectable roster now for quite a few years. In fact, really the turning point of the expectations of the Browns didn't really stem from drafting Baker Mayfield and Nick Chubb and Denzel Ward. That was the hoping year. That was the hoping era that was going to be the changing point after the Browns were 0-16. You fast forward a little bit later. Now they have one of the best offensive lines in football. Nick Chubb's a breakout star. Baker Mayfield looked to be the real deal in his rookie season. They took a step back. They added OBJ. So you had all the talent on that roster. The expectations really shifted towards a more positive light when that all happened. The problem is the very first year that they got all of that talent, it didn't go well, and it was the typical Browns being Browns type of results that everyone had expected. Everything turned around last year, though. Completely different approach by the Cleveland Browns. And, of course, they win 12 games, one of those being a playoff game at Kev Nash's Pittsburgh Steelers, by the way. But, we saw the Browns go. They took a step in the direction that we had been anticipating for a while. By the way, they took a step in the direction that many fans around here told me couldn't happen. The Browns could not win with Baker Mayfield. They were never going to get to the playoffs with Baker Mayfield. They were never going to win a playoff game with Baker Mayfield. You know that game that we play where we move the goalposts back and back and back? Browns would never win with Baker, then they win. Never make the playoffs with Baker, they make the playoffs. Yeah, but they're not going to win in the play. They won with Baker on the road at Pittsburgh without their head coach. I mean, come on. Well, they're never going to get to the AFC title game. Maybe they get to the AFC title game this year. And you're never going to win it. You're never going to get to a Super Bowl. Keep moving that goalpost back, and Baker will keep doing what he does and taking care of business. But that's not what this is necessarily about. You look at this deep roster, they added a ton of talent on the defensive side of the ball. I thought that the Browns really hit it out of the ballpark. I know we're talking football, but I love the Browns' approach, Kev. Draft, 0-16. They finally get their quarterback. They add, OBJ year 2. Things didn't go well, but the focus in that offseason after year 2 was our defense isn't going to be great. We have some weapons there, but we are going to put all of our focus on the offensive side of the ball. That's why they drafted an offensive lineman. They went out and signed Conklin. You already had Teller. They had weapons all over. Their best offensive line in football, arguably. They had one of the best run games in football. Very talented wide receiving core. That was their whole goal heading into last season was, we're going to fine-tune that offense, see where we're at defensively, and then guess what they did this offseason? They went all in on the defense. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, is what I was really hoping that the Cincinnati Bengals were going to do. Go all in on the most important side of the ball, being where your most important player is, Kevin. That's, Joe Burrow. Load up that offensive line, load up offensive talent, go into the season with one of the best offenses in football and worry about the defense next offseason. They should have done that. They should have focused all on the offense and then next year focused all on the defense. And instead, $250 million later over the last 2 years, they have a lot of money invested in that defense, and it still may not be good enough to get them out of last place in the AFC North. The Cleveland Browns did it the right way. And now what they have is the most complete roster in the National Football League. I've been saying it since before the draft, heading into the draft, after free agency, everything. Now it's all coming together. Kev, you look at this list. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on that list. The Buffalo Bills are on this list. So it's the Cleveland Browns 1, the Buccaneers 2. The Kansas City Chiefs come in at number 3. The Chargers 4. Very interesting that the Chargers come in at number 4. Again, you have Keenan Allen, you have Mike Williams, Jared Cook. They added a lot. Hunter McHenry, Corey Linsley, by the way, was a hell of an addition because, the Chargers actually value their quarterback. Then you look at the defensive side of the ball with, Casey Hayward, they go to Joey Bosa. I mean, they're all over the place. And then at number 5 comes the Buffalo Bills. But your overall take on when you hear that the Cleveland Browns have the best overall roster in the NFL, what do you think?
I can't deny that. I don't think anybody can deny that the Browns had a great offseason and a good draft and everything like they're doing. Piled on their season from last season. We talk about the additions that they made to the defense, especially in that secondary and everything like that. But you also have to factor in the fact that guys did play well on defense. The playmakers did play well. Denzel Ward, for all the warts that he has trying to stay healthy when he's on the field, he excels. Myles Garrett, he excelled, especially before he had COVID and everything like that. So there are already players in place that were playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. But then when you add, John Johnson to that secondary, Troy Hill to that secondary as well, and everything like that in free agency, that boosts up everything. That makes people turn their heads. And obviously, you're taking away from one of the better defenses in the league with the Rams. You're taking 2 of their pieces away from them and coming to your team. So you look at that like, all right, good moves. But then you also got to look at the draft moves. You draft Newsome out of Northwestern, in the first round and everything like that. And then you get the linebacker out of Notre Dame. So the linebacker was a big issue for the team. Mac Jones. What is it? Yeah, it is Mac Jones, right? Mac Wilson. I'm sorry. Mac Wilson was in and out of the lineup for the Browns last season. So you're expecting him to be better. And then you add another rookie linebacker. So it's been upgraded and matching everything that the team did last year. You're expecting the guys that were already there to level up even more. So top 5, top 10, number 1, I can't argue with none of that.
What about when you hear that the Browns have the most complete roster over Tampa Bay Buccaneers, defending Super Bowl champs, bring every starter back on both sides of the ball? Is that a little surprising to you, considering that the Super Bowl team, and then plus you also have the Kansas City Chiefs, who have been to back-to-back Super Bowls, splitting a Super Bowl, and you can argue that had that offensive line not been beat up by COVID, we're probably sitting here talking about back-to-back Super Bowls for Patrick Mahomes to add to what's already a very great legacy that he's already started things off with.
Right. I mean, we can play that game about like, well, they're the Super Bowl champions and everything like that. And we can then turn it to the fact that, Kansas City could have been the Super Bowl champs if they weren't out there with, backups to the backups on the offensive line, So if somebody was to tell me like that Tampa Bay had the best one, I couldn't argue with that either. It's very splitting hairs with me. I ultimately would give the nod to Tampa Bay because they are returning all the starters and they have, the best quarterback of all time in Tom Brady, even though we spent a little bit of time bashing him earlier this week and everything like that. He still has that it factor, those tangible assets that you can't really measure on a piece of paper on the stats. You got guys taking less money to come back to run it back. And, we talked about how Kansas City had that we're going to run it back attitude. Well, Kansas City really wasn't running it back because they didn't return all their starters. Tampa Bay is running it back. They got everybody back. So I just think once you get to the NFL and the top 5 and that type of stuff, you're really splitting hairs about who really has the best of the best. But I mean, this league is really all about turnovers and quarterback play. Who's going to force the most turnovers? Which quarterback is going to convert those big third downs and convert those into touchdowns when you're inside the red zone? That's what this league is really all about. Are you going to score touchdowns in the red zone, or are you going to settle for field goals? Is your defense going to get a turnover, or are they going to give up a big play? And in Tampa Bay's case, they got the best quarterback of all time who always seems to find his way into the end zone. And I guess I would give it to Tampa Bay, but if you were to say, like they're saying that the Browns had the best one, I'm not going to argue.
Yeah, keep in mind, you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, that roster, that offensive is unbelievable. But I think when you look at some of these, I think where the Browns, the reason, and I've said this before, they're the most balanced offense in the National Football League just because are there better quarterbacks than Baker? Yes. Are there better run games in the NFL? Not really. Are there better offensive lines in football? No. So when you look at Baker Mayfield's a extremely good quarterback. I can't say he's great. I'm not willing to put him in the great category. He played great the last half of last season. If he picks up where he left off a year from now at this time, I will say he is a great quarterback. And I think he showed, glimpses of that last year. But if you have a extremely good quarterback in Baker Mayfield to go with that, one of the best offensive lines in football, with arguably the best run game in football, with the weapons he has at wide receiver and of course at tight end, that's why I think it's the most balanced offense. You look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, great quarterback in Tom Brady, great offensive weapons. When you look at Godwin, you look at Antonio Brown, you look at the weapons he has, very, very good offensive line as well. But the run game's not great. It's not, it's okay. It's solid. It's stable. You look at but it's not like the Browns. It's very, if it's a teeter-totter, a seesaw, whatever the hell they call them, it's leaning more quarterback passing game, but it's not a great run game. The Browns it's a little bit more balanced. Very, very good passing game. Very, very good run game. Best offensive line in football, wide receivers. The Kansas City Chiefs, same thing. The best quarterback in the league, hands down. Wide receiver talent all over the place. The best tight end in football. Probably now the best offensive line in football when you look at the fact that they added Orlando Brown, Joe Tooney. They a hell of a draft pick in Creed Humphrey that they were able to get. Mm-hmm. That's a revamped offensive line. I thought that they were really, hurting themselves. The Kyle Long too. So the thing is that went from a weakness of the Chiefs heading into the offseason after they let guys go to now all of a sudden that's their strength. But their run game is suspect. It's strong. It's okay. It's very similar to Tampa, where if we're talking about a teeter-totter, it's leaning towards the side of it's a pass-heavy team. They don't really have a great balance with the run game. That's why I look at the Browns and then even the Bills. They don't have a run game, great passing game. So when you look at all these top teams right there, the Browns are the most complete because of that from an offensive standpoint, mainly because very, very good pass game, best run game, offensive line. There's not a weakness on that offense. You can argue that the passing game is their weakness, and Baker was the third-rated quarterback in the second half of the season last year. And I'm doing what I hate people do, take a small portion of the season to make a point, but I am going to make a point of that because it started at the halfway point and it went to close out the season. That means nothing if he craps the bed to start.
Right.
But if he picks up where he left off, then that is who he is moving forward, and that's what's going to be built on. But if he struggles out of the gate and he looks more like early 2020 Baker, I can't make that argument that he is gradually growing into a great quarterback. So it's very important that he picks up where he left off for me to put him in that great category. And I think Bengals fans and a lot of haters out there are worried that that's actually the case. But to me, that's why I think they're the most balanced offense. And then defensively, the pass rush is there. There's a lot of ifs on the defense. I'm worried. I think there's a lot more question marks on defense. But the results can be there. It's a very good pass rush with arguably the best secondary in football. They got a steal of the linebacker they got from Notre Dame in the second round, which many people had him going in the first. I just think from top to bottom, both sides of the ball, from quarterback to safety, because, just stretching it out that way. They're actually, tell me running back, right? Like from the outside. Yeah. So from running back to safety, they're the deepest team. They're the most well-balanced team in football. I don't get why people are so against it. I posted it today and everyone was ripping it. There's no way they are. How is there no way? This isn't even really a heated debate thing. I mean, it's not even saying that the Browns are going to win the Super Bowl. They're in position to do it because they have the most well-rounded roster, but all the pressure is on the shoulders of Baker Mayfield. I think everyone acts like, Baker, the pressure's off because he had a good season. No, the pressure's on now because he had a great rookie year, and he took a step back. He came into camp out of shape the next year. He didn't handle success well. We're going to find out just who Baker is to start the 21 season based on how he looks arriving into camp, how he handles the offense for the second straight season with the same offensive coordinator, with the same head coach for the first time in his pro career. There are so many things different about Baker heading into year 4 that if he takes it and runs with it, we could be talking about a pretty hefty price tag for him when we talk about the negotiations that could start come Thanksgiving if he, again, picks up where he left off from the midway point of last season to that point. We'll see.
And that's the thing you said. I would like to see a breakdown of that, like how we view teams or how they rank teams going into each season for the past 10 years. And out of those teams, which teams actually made it to their conference championship game? Because we can think of tons of teams who had the quote unquote best roster in the league and didn't make it to the Super Bowl or didn't even make it to their conference championship game. The Rams had one of those situations. I know the Pittsburgh Steelers back with the AB and Le'Veon Bell and Ben days, like they weren't making it to the AFC championship game either. So for people that are like up in arms about the Browns being ranked number 1 going into the season, everything like that, I mean, I know I am a show me type of person. I know a lot of people aren't like that, but it is a type of like, okay, you can have that, but
people are selectively show me. When it's their team, they're going all the way, baby. But when it's the Browns, not saying you, but when it's the Browns, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I am that person through and through. I am that person with my team, your team, the other team is okay. Show me. Like I do that with Ohio State recruiting. Like the Quinn Ernst kid that's coming in.
Quinn Ewers.
Whatever. He ain't a Buckeye yet. So
Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah.
Coach Antetokounmpo.
Look at you.
I can just spit these names off. I can't pronounce the new guy that they're going after. One of the top recruits, Ohio State. But anyways.
But yeah, I'm the same way with them. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad they're Buckeyes and everything like that. But show me on the field, man. And I know that's a very different way of approaching things. I even think I heard Keith Byers say that one time, like that he welcomes them with open arms because they're Buckeyes and everything like that. But now you have to prove yourself. Well, I never played for the Buckeyes, so I don't have that luxury. So all I say is like, welcome to the great state of Ohio. Now produce, and until you produce, it's just talk. It's just talk. That's why I don't never really get into recruiting like that because, highlight tapes are just that. They're highlight tapes. They're not going to show you your low light. So produce. And that's what I would say to people that are looking at the Browns with a skeptical eye, like hating or whatever we want to call it. Like, they don't have to say anything. Like, if they produce, there's proof in the pudding. That's all you got to do is produce on the field, and you don't have to worry about anything else. Like people that are defending their Browns team to other people, or vice versa. Like people hating on the Browns, like they'll produce or they won't produce. And if they do produce, you'll be mad, and if they don't produce, you'll be happy. So they got to produce. It's all about what happens on the field. The people crunching numbers and writing up articles and everything like that. That's great for clicks and everything like that. But in football and in sports, it all comes down to what you do on the field of play. The game ain't won on sheets of paper; it's won on the field.
Oh, geez. Here we go.
Cliche man.
One day at a time.
Cliche man is back,
Be
baby.
the man. You got to beat the man. You're in mid-season form. Look at you. So basically what you're saying is, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Real quick, because in the middle of that, I can't believe I forgot. I get to sound cool here. I get to pump my chest. Had a fun conversation with Mr. Cardale Jones over the weekend.
Nice.
He had an interesting take on the quarterback situation at Ohio State.
Oh, first-hand knowledge.
And I will share that with you on the other side. And I can't believe I forgot about this. It was supposed to be in my notes, but as you were talking about that we'll see method, it got me to thinking about that. But I need to write it down. My short-term memory is bad, so I am going to write that down.
I have an app for that.
Yeah. So now with that being said, we'll step away for a few moments, but absolutely the Cleveland Browns, I don't know why so many people have to hate it. It is what you're right, Kevin. Now, at any point throughout this, I never said they're winning a Super Bowl. I gave the good examples of why they are the most well-balanced roster. Are they the best team? We'll see. But roster-wise, from you talk about the passing game to the run game to the offensive line to the defense, and not the weaknesses, but there are deficiencies of the Chiefs' offense. But Patrick Mahomes is so damn good that he makes up for the lack of an elite run game.
Right.
Josh Allen, same thing. Doesn't have a great run game at all, but he makes up for it because he's a hell of a passer. I think Josh Allen's the most complete quarterback in the NFL. Second best running quarterback in the NFL behind Lamar and one of the top passing quarterbacks. I think he's the most complete quarterback in the NFL. Doesn't mean that's a good example. Josh Allen's the most complete quarterback, Kevin, in the NFL. Like Lamar Jackson's the best running quarterback in the NFL, but he's not an elite passer, right? Patrick Mahomes, an elite passer, is capable of running, but he's not a great runner. Josh Allen is a great runner, second best running quarterback in the NFL, and arguably a top 5 passer in the NFL based on what we saw last year. He's the most overall well-rounded quarterback in the NFL. But no one's taking Josh Allen over Patrick Mahomes. No one's going to take Josh Allen over Aaron Rodgers, and maybe not even over Tom Brady, which I don't know why, but that's the aura of Tom Brady. Good for him. He's earned that. So we'll step away for a few moments. Cardale Jones had an interesting comment or thought on the quarterback situation in Columbus. We'll talk about that next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Milano's Pizza Subs and Taps' new summer menu is the perfect pairing to the Big on Tap beer selection. Try your favorite craft beer with a bacon cheddar cheesesteak or a new Milano's Pizza choice. See the summer menu now at milanosubs.com.
Everything you want to hear is on Audible. Stream the bestsellers and the newest hot releases, and stream originals and podcasts too. Sign up for a free trial at audible.com.
The Reds are on the radio.
Every hit, every strikeout, every Reds victory. You can catch all of the action all season long right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. NFL, high school football, college football, NFL, we are inching closer and closer, as crazy as that is. At the end of the week, it's 4th of July this weekend, folks. This year is flying by. Great stuff. Cardale Jones, had a brief, quick chat with him over the weekend at the JR Memorial at Indian Lake. It's a fantastic event, by the way. They had the band out there, alumni cheerleaders out there. They even did a little mini, Script Ohio, which was pretty dang cool. It was really neat. It's one of my favorite events every year. Cardale was the guest of honor this year. He was the headliner of all the Buckeyes that were there. And we're talking about the Quinn Ewers coming to Ohio State. We even talked about it with Bobby Carpenter when he was on the show on Friday. And I said, we've even done the over-under. I've said that the chances of Quinn Ewers starting a game at Ohio State, I think, is pretty damn slim. I don't think that he ever starts at Ohio State. Not because Ohio State's a bad program, doesn't want to come here, not because he's not good enough to play here, but I don't see a path for him to come here and get what he wants out of Ohio State, because you have CJ Stroud, Jack Miller, and Kyle McCord. One of those guys is going to be the starter, of course. It's most likely going to be CJ Stroud. We talked about that with Bobby Carpenter, and really that's kind of, a lot of the main takeaways from Buckeye camp anyways, is that. But we got to talking about, if CJ Stroud gets the starting job and he dominates in 2021, how do you take the keys away from him for 2022. And people say, oh, well, I mean, and Bobby said it too, you got to do it. I mean, it's all about winning. There's more examples of that not being the case than there is that being the case. I'll give a lot of credit to Dabo Swinney when Trevor Lawrence, who was the quarterback? Oh, why is it? Kelly Bryant. Yep. Kelly Bryant was the starting quarterback for Clemson, maybe for a game and a half. They were 2 games. They were undefeated, 2-0. Dabo Swinney took the keys from the car away from Kelly Bryant. Did his job, played very well. They were undefeated, but obviously in practice, Dabo Swinney knew that Trevor Lawrence is the difference between, that Kelly Bryant and that Trevor Lawrence is the difference between very, very good season with Kelly Bryant at quarterback and a potential national championship with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback. Ultimately, they did go on to win a national championship. They won it in Trevor Lawrence's freshman season. True freshman at that. There's not many examples of that happening. You saw Nick Saban go to Tua Tagovailoa at halftime of a national championship game. That's cutthroat. That is cutthroat as cutthroat can be. Good for Nick Saban. But there are other examples like Justin Fields in Georgia and Kirby Smart. A lot of people believe in, what is their quarterback's name? It's driving me crazy. It's going to irritate the heck out of me. I literally had it in my head before we started. The bottom line is Jake Fromm. So you cannot convince me that Jake Fromm is a better quarterback than Justin Fields. However, I see this similar situation brewing in Columbus that brewed at Georgia. Kirby Smart, by the way, did not make the wrong decision. I know. He technically did. It's in hindsight, it's kind of foolish to say that, he should have picked Justin Fields. Yes, you should want Justin Fields, over the court. I just said his name. What the hell is wrong with me? What's his name? Fromm. Sorry.
Jake Fromm.
So Jake Fromm, State Farm. There we go. That's how I remember that. But Jake Fromm. So Jake Fromm, clearly Justin Fields is better than Jake Fromm, but the team had chemistry. They had everything was clicking, right? They were winning games. Jake Fromm didn't do anything to deserve to lose the job other than, Justin Fields is just better. But when you have one really, really good quarterback and you have an elite quarterback, it really is hard for coaches to stomach taking the keys away from a quarterback who has done nothing to deserve to lose their job. Right. Urban Meyer did that with JT Barrett. It frustrated me because we knew, or at least I felt that Dwayne Haskins, he should have been the starter over JT that last year of JT. You can argue that it cost the Buckeyes a playoff spot because Dwayne Haskins, when you look at how he looked in that short stint against Michigan, and he was a damn Heisman finalist the next year, you can't convince me that he went from a scrubby quarterback below the talent of JT Barrett to a Heisman finalist a year later. That talent was there the year before, but it's hard to take the keys away from a JT Barrett. Right. It's hard to take the keys away from a Jake Fromm. So it's tough. I can sympathize with coaches that these athletes are like their kids. It's tough to make those tough cutthroat decisions. Good for Dabo for doing it. Good for, obviously for Saban for doing it. And they have championships to kind of hoist to reward them for their tough decision making. But in Columbus, that's not the case. The Urban couldn't make that tough call. And it might have cost them a playoff opportunity. Could have potentially costed them a national championship. You look at the same thing in Georgia. Justin Fields and Georgia probably win a national championship maybe. Although you would have had Justin Fields against Joe Burrow the year before. Mm-hmm. And then Justin Fields against Mac Jones, which we ultimately got this year. That would have been interesting though. But Georgia, the SEC would have been freaking loaded more than it usually is if that was the case. So my point about all of this is it's tough to make that decision. And Ryan Day might have to be in that position a year from now. If Quinn Ewers, the number one quarterback in the class of 22, when he arrives on campus in Columbus, if CJ Stroud leads the Buckeyes to an undefeated regular season, a Big Ten championship, maybe a national championship appearance, maybe a national championship, Quinn Ewers is not coming in here to sit.
Right.
He's that from everything that we've heard about him. It's the same picture that was painted about Justin Fields and about Trevor Lawrence. These guys were just too good to not play right away, which is why I'm adamant that I don't believe Quinn Ewers ends up here. Cardale Jones had an interesting take on this over the weekend when we were talking about the quarterback situation, because he had made a comment that some quarterbacks do enjoy just coming to Columbus, knowing that they may not be the starter, but the knowledge that they'll gain in 1 year playing under Ryan Day, even as a backup or as a third stringer, that they could take that knowledge with them to their next stop. Maybe they don't have as great of a quarterback coach or an offensive-minded OC or whatever as what Ryan Day is, but they could take what they learned in that little short period of time, take it with them to their next stop, and build on it the way Joe Burrow did, of course, in Ohio State, who was there much longer. I don't even – how much time did he get with Ryan Day? He got about a year. 2 years with Ryan Day, correct?
2 years.
So 2 years. So he took what he learned with Ryan Day and that offensive scheme and built on it his 1 year at LSU, and then boom, it popped. Did Ryan Day have anything to do with that? I don't know. I can't sit there and say of the pie chart of Joe Burrow's success, 25% of it was Ohio State. I don't know, but I thought it was an interesting take. But Justin Fields at Georgia, Trevor Lawrence at Clemson, and even Dwayne Haskins at Ohio State and Tua at Alabama. All those coaches were put in a position to make a cutthroat decision. 2 cutthroat decisions led to national championships, and you can argue that Kirby Smart and Urban Meyer potentially cost their team national championships by not rolling the dice and making the cutthroat decision. Dwayne Haskins with the Buckeyes over J.T. Barrett years ago, and Justin Fields over Jake Fromm for Georgia for Kirby Smart. Your thoughts?
I'll ask you this. Did you ask Cardale his opinion about the JT situation? And
I mean, look, we saw what happened. We saw what happens when you replace. Every time JT Barrett gets replaced, you win a national championship.
I'll say this about Justin Fields in Georgia. I think that him coming to Ohio State was a business move. Not only the situation that, Jake Fromm was going to be the starter and everything like that, but he saw, a better opportunity to learn the game of football and get on the field as well. Who's to say that Georgia would have let him throw the ball? Who's to say what type of offense they'd have been running down there in Georgia? Because it wasn't the same offense that Ohio State runs. It wasn't a wide open offense that you giving the keys to the quarterback. It was more of a, traditional I formation, hand the ball off 3 yards in a cloud of dust situation. So who's to say he would have developed as that player that he became at Ohio State under Ryan Day? Kind of like what Cardale was saying, the things that you learn under Coach Day and everything like that. So I'm not quick to say that, oh man, you just plug Justin Fields in there because he's more talented. They would have did it. Well, there's no telling how he would have reacted or played in that style of offense that they were running, because they're 2 completely different systems. As far as the JT and Dwayne Haskins thing and coaches making hard decisions, absolutely is a hard decision. Like you said, these guys go into the living rooms of their parents and tell them that they're going to take care of their child for the next 4 to 5 years, and they become attached to these dudes. We see how attached Urban Meyer is to Tim Tebow and everything like that loyalty factor and everything like that.
Tim Tebow will be the next damn punter. He'll be the next water boy. He will be something for the Jaguars because of that loyalty you just talked about.
But yeah, so it definitely is tough decisions for those guys to make. Those decisions in the NFL are made abundantly clear and very quickly. You know what I'm saying? You can look at Russell Wilson when he was drafted like in the 3rd or 4th round. They were seeing him to be the potential backup. He came in there and wowed the coaches, wowed his teammates, and they believed that he was the number 1 guy, even though after they spent big money in free agency to bring in the backup from Green Bay to be the starter. They benched him and paid him big money to be on the bench and started a rookie quarterback. So in the NFL and college, they're 2 different worlds, but slowly but surely they're merging into one of the same. We're seeing that with the potential expansion of the college football playoff, and we're seeing it more with the cutthroat decision making by the coaches involved with Dabo and with Nick Saban as well. So it's the merging of the game. It is getting more and more cutthroat. Further and further along we go.
All right, we'll step away for a few moments. In fact, I have, after all that conversation, the number 1 reason that Quinn Ewers will not play a snap for the Buckeyes. I have that for you next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
O'Reilly. Ready for an oil change? The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are here to help. We'll make sure you have all the supplies you need to make the job quick and easy. Right now, get 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil for just $28.95. Plus, get a $10 gift card after mail-in rebate. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Tired of deciding what to cook tonight? Frickers is ready when you are with everyone's favorite ribs and frickin' chicken chunks. Tender baby back ribs and frickin' chicken chunks, only $12.99 dine-in only. Take the day off as kids 10 and under eat free every day. And you can relax and let Frickers take care of everything. Baby back ribs, frickin' chicken chunks, and kids eat free at the one place that makes lunch, dinner, or late night easy. The home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
Baby back. Baby back.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-362-2000, 362-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Give me a call for an all-cash offer at 614-362-2000, 614-362-2000.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland & Summers. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio. WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, welcome back. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash. It is the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. To recap quickly, I'm going to tell you why Quinn Ewers will not ever play a snap for the Buckeyes. And I do want to preface it with this. This is not a I hate the Buckeyes segment. This is not an anti-Buckeyes segment. This is just the changing of times, and I'll explain coming up here in a second, but I want to reset the stage here, okay? So we've seen in recent years coaches be put in positions to make tough, cutthroat decisions. We saw it in Clemson where Dabo Swinney had to make a cutthroat decision. Kelly Bryant was the Tigers were undefeated. There were a few games into the season. They were undefeated. They were fine. There was no if you're winning, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Dabo made the tough decision to look at Kelly Bryant, who waited his turn, as Deshaun Watson was dominating, and they pulled the starting job from him and went to a true freshman in Trevor Lawrence.
Went to the college football playoff the year before as the starting quarterback.
Yeah, so it's like they moved on from Kelly Bryant because he was better, because Trevor Lawrence was better. And then, of course, not only do they get to the college football playoff, they win the national championship. Cutthroat decision. Kelly Bryant did nothing to deserve having the job taken from him, but that's what ultimately happened. You look at Alabama, Nick Saban, Tua Tagovailoa, true freshman, halftime of a national championship game. Nick Saban made the cutthroat decision to go to a true freshman quarterback because why? Because that's what gave him the best chance to win. Now, they could have said, oh, man, Jalen Hurts, we appreciate you. We don't want to hurt your feelings. You've worked so hard. All of those things could be true. He worked really hard. He played really well. He got him to that point. But Nick Saban knew, do I try to protect the feelings of Jalen Hurts or do I do what's best for the team to help us win a national championship? And we all know how that magical story ended, right? It ended in a national championship. Now there's opposite examples. The Ohio State Buckeyes, JT Barrett, a very, very talented quarterback. I mean, set Big Ten record, Buckeye record after record after record. I will never look at JT and say he was not a great Buckeye quarterback. He was a great Buckeye quarterback. Dwayne Haskins is just better. Dwayne Haskins should have been the starter in that last year for JT Barrett. Dwayne Haskins should have been the starting quarterback. But Urban Meyer could not stomach being disloyal to JT Barrett, who had earned the right to play that last season and not have the job taken from him. But you look at the cutthroat decisions from Dabo and from Nick Saban, those cutthroat decisions led to national championship. Urban Meyer not being willing to make that cutthroat decision led to the Buckeyes not even getting to the playoff. That's a problem. Right? Like, you love loyalty. Players respect that. And on the recruiting trail, I'm sure that was one angle that is pitched. But you left a playoff appearance on the table. You left maybe a national championship appearance on the table or a title on the table because you didn't want to hurt JT Barrett's feelings. That's a problem. All right? You look at Georgia. Jake Fromm. They've won a ton of games with Jake Fromm at quarterback, right? Like, there's no reason to sit there and say that Jake Fromm should not be the starting quarterback of Georgia. But you have Justin Fields on your roster. You mean to tell me, after what we saw Justin Fields, how he looked his first year at Ohio State, you mean to tell me that he was bad one year, that he was below Jake Fromm the year before, and then magically in his very first game ever against Florida Atlantic, it's 28-0, and he had thrown 3 of those 4 touchdowns? I mean, he was dominant. You mean to tell me that guy was bad the year before and just great? No, he was that good the year before. But Kirby Smart was not cutthroat enough to make that decision, and it cost him a national championship potentially. Justin Fields goes on to Ohio State, does great things. So my point is that there's been examples of coaches not being willing to make the cutthroat decision, and then there's been examples of coaches who have had the guts to do it, and they've been rewarded for it. The coaches who were not willing to do it, they failed. Urban failed not being willing to make that tough decision with Dwayne Haskins over JT Barrett. Kirby Smart technically failed by not being willing to move on from Jake Fromm, who did everything right. Kelly Bryant did everything right for Clemson. Jalen Hurts did everything right for Alabama. JT Barrett did everything right for Ohio State. But the coaches that made the cutthroat decision won a national championship. And the coaches who didn't, well, they almost did it. They almost got there. By golly, they fight so hard. Quinn Ewers, number 1 quarterback in the class of 22, coming in next year. Everyone can't wait for when he finally arrives to Ohio State. He's not going to play at Ohio State. CJ Stroud most likely is going to be the starting quarterback for the Buckeyes coming up this season. The only way that Quinn Ewers is the starting quarterback for the Buckeyes in 22 is if Ryan Day makes that cutthroat decision to move on from a CJ Stroud who will lead the Buckeyes to a Big Ten championship. They will most likely be undefeated at the end of the year. They will be in the college football playoff. They might even get to the national championship game. They might even win one. And if they win one, you could bet your ass CJ Stroud will be the quarterback in 2022. Well, Justin, then I think that Quinn Ewers just needs to do what every other good quarterback does. Just wait your turn. Yeah, because kids are patient nowadays, right? We tell them how great they are as 7th graders. You're going to be the greatest phenom in the history of college football as an 8th grader. They wait 4 more years in high school knowing that they're going to be great just so they could sit, knowing that they're better than the quarterback that's there now. No. Quinn Ewers will not be the quarterback of the Buckeyes in 2022, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Maybe. Now, if he's truly better than C.J. Stroud, and Ryan Day does not have the guts to make that cutthroat decision the way Dabo did with Trevor Lawrence over Kelly Bryant, the way that Nick Saban did with Tua Tagovailoa over Jalen Hurts, or he could do what Urban did and didn't have the guts to do it, the way he didn't pick Dwayne Haskins over J.T. Barrett, the way that Kirby Smart did not pick Jake Fromm over Justin Fields. If Ryan Day goes that route, it might cost him. But here's the number one reason, Kev, as I ramble on. The number one reason Quinn Ewers will not be a Buckeye if C.J. Stroud kicks ass in 2021, because I almost forgot the year. Name, image, likeness. Because we all know that these kids are about to make some freaking money, right? You know how much money the quarterback at Ohio State, the starting quarterback at Ohio State, is going to make?
Day and a half, July 1st. Cash me out.
Yes. So do you think that Quinn Ewers is going to look at that and say, all right, I'm going to go to Ohio State to be the backup quarterback, and I'm probably going to make some money off my social media, but I mean, imagine how much money I can make as the starting quarterback, as a guy that could be competing to be a Heisman finalist right off the bat. If CJ Stroud kicks ass in 22, it's really going to come down to, does Ryan Day have the guts to make the cutthroat decision? And if he doesn't, Quinn Ewers will be gone. Name, image, likeness. These kids now have a chance to make money. And now these kids are going to be smart enough to know, oh, I don't want to be patient anymore, because even if I'm not great as a starter, I'm going to make money as a starter. I'm not going to make money being hidden in the background, coming in when Ohio State's up 85-0 over Miami of Ohio. I'm not going to make money off of those spot appearances there. I'm going to make money off of being the starting quarterback. So if I can't be the starting quarterback my freshman year, if he lives up to the bill of being a Trevor Lawrence or a Tua Tagovailoa or a Justin Fields, then I just don't see him going to Ohio State. And just to be clear, I'm not bashing the Buckeyes. I'm not bashing Ryan Day. I'm not doing any of that. All I'm saying is this is a good problem to have.
Definitely.
And we're not talking about Buffalo having to make these tough decisions. We're not talking about Michigan having to make these tough decisions, because I just put Buffalo and Michigan in the same boat, apparently. No, we're talking about the elite programs having to make these decisions. But in all honesty, watch how much name, image, and likeness helps some other schools with recruiting. Some kids won't be as patient to go to Kev, I don't think these kids are going to want to go to a crowded quarterback room.
They already don't.
I don't want to, but some do, knowing that, okay, if I don't get it this year, I could do it next year. But with name, image, and likeness and the chance to make money now, you're basically saying not only am I risking not being the starter, I'm also risking not making money my freshman year, to where if I'm the starter, even at Bowling Green or Miami of Ohio, I'm going to make bank being a starting quarterback for any team out there versus being the backup at Ohio State or elsewhere. I think that we might see the end of this JT Barrett, Dwayne Haskins, Joe Burrow. We might see the end of this Braxton Miller, Cardale Jones, JT Barrett type deal, right? Like these quarterback battles of Jack Miller and CJ Stroud. There's always going to be quarterback battles. There's always going to be names in the room. But I think we might start to see the fading out of multiple 4 or 5-star quarterbacks sitting all in the same QB room battling it out for one starting spot.
And that will make the game better.
I'm with you.
Game better. That will make it better. We talk about how the college football playoff is expanding because people are mad because they don't have a seat at the table. Well, if name, image, and likeness causes guys not to go to other schools to compete for a starting position, maybe they'll go to a different school. Maybe they'll say, you know what, it's between Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson, or man, I could just go to Virginia Tech and beat it. I'm a 5-star. I'll just go to Virginia Tech and take it from this dude that's there. And then I can get a whole bunch of other dudes that's like, man, why go there? And you got to work for it. We can come right in here as freshmen and hit the ground running as freshmen. And then by our junior year, we'll be balling and we'll win a national championship. So I think if that's how it goes, it can be better for the sport and more players going to other universities as opposed to going to the same 5 universities.
Yeah, and again, just to preface, because I'm starting to see and not just on StreamYard, but of course I'm getting some tweets and stuff. I'm starting to see the sensitivity of Buckeye fans come out. And by the way, I'm a Buckeye fan. Look at the shirts. Look at my office. I'm a huge Buckeye fan. But stop being a soft fan base, which sometimes Buckeye fans, you have a tendency to be. This isn't an anti-Buckeye segment. This is a good thing. If you don't end up with viewers because CJ Stroud is so good, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? Why are we angry? For instance, yes, it sucks that we did not end up with Heisman winning Joe Burrow, but did anyone freak out when Dwayne Haskins was outperforming Joe Burrow's first year at LSU? No. They won that. I have no problem with Ohio State picking Dwayne Haskins over Joe Burrow, even though Joe Burrow would go on to win the Heisman. Joe Burrow would go on to win the national championship. To where Ohio State with Haskins was a Heisman finalist. Ohio State got to the college football playoff, but they still made the right decision that year in selecting Dwayne Haskins over Joe Burrow. And that's what could potentially happen here. All I'm saying is with name, image, and likeness, with elite talents like Quinn Ewers, I just don't think they're going to be as patient. I don't think they're patient now, but this is going to make them even more anxious with their decision-making, because now not only are you choosing to go to a school where you might have to sit and be a backup for a year, now you might have to sit out and miss some money for a year. Now we're talking about a totally different ballgame That's what this point of the conversation is I'm not anti-Buckeye. I'm not saying Ryan Day is doing anything wrong, but I just don't see a scenario where these quarterbacks are going to risk the money that they can make off of name, image, and likeness, because we all know that the starting quarterback at LSU, the starting quarterback at Bama, the starting quarterback at Ohio State and Clemson and Notre Dame, those dudes are going to make bank, and the backups, you're going to get some face and TV time when you're up when it's 55-0 late in ball games. It is what it is, and that's how it's going to be moving forward. That's just me. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. We'll step away for a few moments. Cincinnati Reds, we had this conversation earlier. Nick Castellanos or Jesse Winker. If the Cincinnati Reds can only select one, you could only select one to give a max contract to. Who are you picking? If you pick Castellanos, that means you lose Winker. And if you pick Winker, that means you lose Castellanos. Castellanos is 29 years old. He's hitting .347 on the year. He's a .297 career hitter. 247 career hitter, I'm sorry. And you have Jesse Winker having a breakout year, but he's a homegrown kid, right? The Reds drafted him. They developed him. He debuted with the Reds in 2017 and is having an all-star caliber season at the halfway point. In fact, Nick Castellanos and Jesse Winker are number 2 and number 3 on total vote getters for the All-Star game. If voting ended today, they would be 2 of the 3 starting outfielders for the National League. If you could only pick one, who would it be? We'll pick up with that conversation. More Facebook and YouTube answers when we come back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, a high near 93. Tonight will also be mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, a low around 73. And tomorrow will be cloudy with showers and thunderstorms, a high near 84. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
The City of Moraines Star Spangled Boom is on Sunday, July 4th. The fun begins at 6 p.m. with amusement rides, games, and food trucks. There will be live music by the area's favorite band, The Menus. They hit the stage at 7:30 p.m. And the new low-profile fireworks show will start at 10. The best spot to view them is Wax Park, 3800 Main Street in Moraine.
Tom Bodette here, still leaving the light on for the long-haul trucker. While we were locked down at home, you were out there day and night bringing us what we needed to make it through. And Motel 6 is here to help you make it through. Want to trade a loose load strap and a sore back for a good night's sleep? Yes, you do. Motel 6 has a place just down the road with a clean, comfortable room and a great low rate. You'll know it when you see it. I'm Tom Bodette from Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
You know, a few days ago while hanging out with my family, I noticed my father staring blankly at me. Something's not right, I thought. Is he having a stroke? Then I remembered to act fast, F-A-S-T, and did this quick test. F, face. I asked my father to smile. One side of his face drooped. A, arm. I asked him to lift both arms. No problem there. S, speech. I asked him to repeat a phrase. His speaking was slurred. T, time. I called 911 for immediate help. This way, he began receiving life-saving treatment in the ambulance. My father was out of the hospital in a few days, all because he made it to the hospital within an hour of his stroke. Practice recognizing the signs of a stroke so that you can act F-A-S-T, fast, to save a loved one.
This message is brought to you by the Ohio Department of Health's Covered L Stroke Program.
Milano's Pizza Subs and Taps new summer menu is here. Fresh salads, house-made chicken salad subs, the pep and honey pizza, and more. Bring it home or dine on Milano's patio. See all your choices at milanosubs.com.
If your family depends on your income and something happened to you, what would happen to them? You need life insurance, and SelectQuote can help you get it at a price you can afford.
SelectQuote found Jacob, 40, who's in excellent health, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for only $19 a month.
Not in perfect health? Don't worry.
SelectQuote found Tanya, 40, who has type 2 diabetes, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for only $32 a month.
We shop companies like Protective, Prudential, American General, and others to find you the company with the best rates. Give your family the security they need at a price you can afford. For your free quote, call 1-800-519-0449. That's 1-800-519-0449. Or go to selectquote.com. That's 1-800-519-0449. Select Quote. We shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policies at selectquote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Drive-by birthday parties, virtual weddings. In a world full of things you never thought possible, here's one more. Now you can get Allstate's quality insurance at an affordable rate. When you bundle your home and auto, you'll save up to 25%. With Allstate, you can lower your rates, not your expectations. Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today.
In most states, prices vary based on how you buy. Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company, Allstate Vehicle and Property Insurance Company, and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
All right, listen up, people. Sean Avery here. If you enjoy alcohol, chances are at some point you've been hungover, torn up in the Hurt Locker. Well, here's a little secret. Goody's hangover powder relieves pain fast, helps wake you up, and it tastes good. I'm not kidding around. You got a case of ginfluenza, bourbonitis? No problem. Get Goody's hangover powder. Real medicine for real hangovers.
Goody's Hangover, aspirin and caffeine in powder form. Place on tongue and take with water. Hangover responsibly. Find it at Dollar General.
Don't wait to get a new job. Express Employment Professionals is hiring for more than 35,000 jobs. Find your local Express office at expresspros.com or on the Express Jobs app.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland & Summers. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
All right, we are back. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash. Nick Castellanos or Jesse Winker will close out that conversation coming up in here in just a moment. Talking about that quarterback situation with the Buckeyes and Quinn Ewers. Again, sticking to my hot take. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I've been wrong a lot in the past. I'll be wrong I'll be wrong a lot moving forward. Luckily, I don't get paid for being right. If I got paid for being right, that would be, I'd be fired a long time ago. So there's that. Matthew Hedrick on YouTube says, so Justin, let's make a bet for charity, $100. I say Quinn will be a Buckeye since you think he won't come here. He goes on to say, because I didn't respond quick enough, apparently, he goes, come on, Kinner, let's make that bet for charity since you know so much. Oh, stop, since you know so much. Maybe I'm reading that with a little aggressive, since you know so much. Well, since you know so much that he's going to be there, I mean, my God, I don't even think it's that crazy of a take to talk about how the dynamics of college football and athletics in general are going to change thanks to name, image, and likeness. I don't think it's that hot of a take to have here. I also don't think that it's that hot of a take that everything you read about Quinn Ewers, he's on the same level of a Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. And by the way, it was such a big deal that Justin Fields wasn't the starter at Georgia. Like, people were angry at Georgia that he wasn't the starter. It was like, imagine, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was a line down the middle of fans that were furious, that liked Fromm, but knew he should have been. What makes you think that that's not going to be the case here?
In the case for Jake Fromm, you got to think they were incompletion away from winning the national championship. Like, it wasn't his fault that they lost the national championship. It was the safety for shading to the middle of the field and not staying where he's supposed to be.
Coming back again, by the way? Isn't he back? Jake Fromm's back again.
No. Jay Fromm, he is with Buffalo.
Oh, no. Who's their quarterback now? I'm sorry. The transfer. They got a transfer
from USC.
I'm sorry. That's who that is. I was like, wait a minute. Jake Fromm. No, because Jake Fromm's the one that had that racist video come out or whatever. But anyways, it's besides the point.
Shouts out to Jake Fromm.
Shouts out to Jake from State Farm. Jake Fromm.
We'll go ahead.
No, continue your point.
No. I was just saying, like, so if you're if you're a coach and like you thinking like, all right, man, he just led us to the national championship game, and he was also a freshman. He was a true freshman when he did that. So, and obviously, we're not there. We're not there at camp and everything like that to see how Justin Fields is intaking the offense. And furthermore, good coaches develop talent around their players. They don't try to force a square peg into a round hole and everything like that. So maybe, just maybe, Justin Fields wasn't right for that offense. And he went to a place where the offense was more spread open, more wide open, designed more things for him to do with his legs and get outside of the pocket or bootlegs and things of that nature. And then this past season, he developed more into a passing quarterback and everything like that. There was less zone reads and things of that nature. So maybe, just maybe, the style of offense that Georgia was running was not suited for him. And he might not excel. And I think the same thing can be said about how Jalen Hurts was used at Alabama, because you talk about how JT and Dwayne Haskins, you didn't believe that he was, you believed like he was still better than him, even as a sophomore and everything like that. But the way Jalen Hurts played at Alabama wasn't the same way he played at Oklahoma. I think him going to Oklahoma and being under Coach Riley and that system and him tweaking that system to suit Jalen, his skill set, and still develop him as a passer. I think coaching has a lot to do with a lot of these moves. Like, all right, man, I got to get myself in position with these coaches so they can unlock the tools that I have. And so they can be.
And that's on them for picking those coaches in. That's on them. Justin Fields, if you knew that they ran a crap-ass system, why'd you pick Georgia to begin with? Same thing with Jalen Hurts. Oh, man, I know I'm not being used correctly. Then why'd you stay there for as long as you did? So I see what you're saying, but at the same time, then that's also on the player, not always just on the coaches, which are going to get the blame, like Kirby Smart did with the Justin Fields situation. Doug Toby on Facebook says, the big teams with big money backers will find a way to take care of more than one quarterback or freshman four-star athletes. If you can make twice as much as a backup for Ohio State, then why would you go to Virginia Tech? First of all, you don't know that you can make twice as much as a backup quarterback at Ohio State. And don't disrespect Virginia Tech, by the way. To act like these programs in Virginia Tech's not Ohio State, but to act like there's not big backers there, you'll still make more money as the starting quarterback at Virginia Tech than the second or third string backup quarterback at Ohio State. And by the way, I don't care how big of a name Quinn Ewers is. What business in Columbus is going to want to put their money to a backup quarterback? Like, let's be clear here. Dwayne Haskins, we knew who he was a little. We knew the name. Right. We knew it from reading reports about how he looked with, thanks to 11 Warriors and Letterman Row and Bucknuts and, all those sites that talk about recruiting, right? Like, so we know who they are. Like, by the way, let me be clear. We know who Jack Miller is. We know who CJ Stroud and Kyle McCord are. But here in about over, 2 months, we're going to really know who CJ Stroud is. Right. But we're not going to really know who Jack Miller is or even Kyle McCord. So why would it's Dwayne Haskins, that time he came in against Michigan and had that, that very interesting drive. Yeah. We had an idea of who he was after that, but we didn't know who he was. Dwayne Haskins didn't become Dwayne Haskins until 2 or 3 starts into his run as the starter at Columbus. So, at Ohio State and Columbus. So again, Quinn Ewers is a name that we are familiar with. We'll read about him on Bucknuts. We'll read about him on 11 Warriors and Letterman Row, but we won't know anything about him. So why makes you think that Byers Automotive or whatever over there in Columbus, what makes you think that they're going to look at the backup quarterback and say, we're going to invest thousands into the backup quarterback for the Buckeyes? No. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You will make more money as the starting quarterback at Virginia Tech than as the backup at Ohio State.
Backup to the backup.
Gotta love it. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash. We'll be back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.